Minato Namikaze, with pride, observed his 3 6-year-old children, all of whom were remarkably strong for their age. The youngest son, Menma, stood at 3 feet 5 inches with spiky red hair and deep purple eyes. Though a good child, Menma's overconfidence and penchant for unnecessary trouble were often a handful. Natsumi, the younger daughter, was 3 feet 4 inches with long blonde hair and mischievous purple eyes that radiated happiness. The eldest daughter, Mito, was 3 feet 5 inches with long red hair and blue eyes. Calmer and more collected than her hyperactive siblings, she was the brains of the trio, possessing an intelligence beyond her years. "Look, Tio-san, we did it!" Natsumi yelled from the top of the tree. With a wide smile, Minato went to hug his kids. "I'm so proud of you," he yelled back. His wife, Kushina Namikaze, formerly Uzumaki, emerged to see her family in a group hug and smiled radiantly. "What's all the commotion about?" she asked, and all four turned to look at her. Natsumi was the first to break the silence. "We finally got to the top of the tree," she shouted, with Menma and Mito nodding in agreement. "Yeah, we did. No one can measure up to us now," Menma declared, a fire burning in his eyes. Mito sighed at his overconfidence but was happy nonetheless. Kushina let out a loud, happy laugh and high-fived her children. To an outsider, they looked like the perfect family, the family everyone loved. Except for one person. In his room, Naruto Namikaze, the eldest son of the fourth Hokage, watched the happy family from his window, wondering if he could even call them that. Naruto himself was 3 feet 6 inches with spiky blonde hair and deep blue eyes. He was remarkably smart for his age, even outsmarting a few members of the Nara clan. With a sigh, Naruto walked away from the window and crawled into bed, his thoughts turning to his life. For as long as he could remember, his parents had overlooked him. It started small but became much worse after he turned 5. Now, they often forgot to set a place for him at the table, left him out when cooking dinner, and sometimes even left the house without him. But the worst memory was when he had asked his parents to train him. Flashback. A 5-year-old Naruto ran downstairs and found his parents training his siblings in the backyard. Frowning, he approached his father. "Tio-san, why can't I train with them?" he asked, startling Minato. Minato thought, surprised. When he registered the question, his eyes darkened slightly. "Sorry, Naruto, but you'll have to wait," he said. This time, Naruto grew angry. "Well, why not? Why do they get to train and I don't?" he yelled, but his mother cut him off. "How dare you raise your voice at us?" Kushina shouted, getting the attention of Menma, Natsumi, and Mito. Kushina and Minato proceeded to scold Naruto, saying things no 5-year-old should ever hear before sending him to his room. Naruto bolted upstairs, leaving his laughing siblings and scowling parents behind. He slammed the door, tears streaming down his face. Why? It's just not fair, he thought, crying himself to sleep. Naruto's POV. I sighed, the memory still fresh. My parents had apologized, but it was a half-hearted apology that meant nothing. I had no friends, a fact I could thank my siblings for. Mainly Menma. As the Hokage's favorite and, in most people's minds, only son, everyone wanted to play with him, never bothering to get to know me. Did I forget to mention that Menma, Natsumi, and Mito each held 3 tails of the 9-tailed fox's chakra? Because of that, they were hailed as heroes. Add the fact that they're the Hokage's kids, and their egos really got a boost. Here I am, forgotten. I'm the holder of the Kyuubi's soul, the most important part of it, yet I'm invisible. Sometimes, I feel like a shadow. I've met the Kyuubi a few times, and each time has been surprisingly fun. After I broke down his tough wall of hatred and malice, he's just an okay fuzzball. Don't tell him I said that, though. I let out another sigh and closed my eyes. Our birthday was in 2 days, and I wasn't looking forward to it. Just like I wasn't looking forward to last year's. Third-person POV. Naruto's eyes opened. He looked at the date and sighed. October 10th, huh? Wonderful, he muttered. He got out of bed, quickly dressed in a black t-shirt and shorts, and headed downstairs. He heard laughter and happiness and saw his family eating breakfast together, joyfully. A pang of anger and jealousy shot through him as he watched them, happy without him. Scowling, he walked toward the door. Mito stopped laughing and looked up, spotting her brother heading for the door. She felt a shock, and a little anger at herself. How had she not noticed her own brother wasn't eating with them? "Hey, Unai-chan, where are you going?" she asked, getting everyone's attention. They all looked at the door and saw their brother/son about to leave the house. Menma and Natsumi looked confused, while Minato and Kushina were in shock. He wasn't eating with us, they thought in unison. Naruto, slightly surprised that someone had stopped him, looked back at his family staring at him. "Out," he replied coldly. Before anyone could say anything else, he left the house, muttering, "Happy birthday, Menma, Mito, Natsumi." The Namikaze household fell silent. Had no one noticed Naruto was gone? They started eating again, but the earlier happiness had vanished. Happy birthday, Naruto. At a secret training ground. Naruto sighed for the 100th time that day. It was turning out to be terrible. After getting some ramen from Ichiraku, he headed to the training grounds he had found last year. His sensitive ears picked up a rustle in the bushes, and he looked over to see a boy and a girl. The girl, who looked about 5, had semi-long white hair with soft blue tips and blue eyes, standing at about 3 feet 2 inches. The boy had black hair that fell between his eyes, one black eye and one blue eye, and was about 3 feet 4 inches tall. He also looked 5. Naruto and the two kids stared at each other for a while. Finally, Naruto broke the silence. "Who are you guys?" he asked. The boy stood up and held out his hand for a handshake. "Hi, I'm Satoru Kaza. I'm 5 years old, and I like thunderstorms," Satoru said. Naruto looked at him with a curious gaze, nodded, and shook his hand. Satoru smiled widely and looked at the girl, who rolled her eyes. "I'm Izumi Naitashi. I'm also 5 and I like the cold," she said frostily, trying to intimidate him. She was slightly shocked when Naruto simply gave her a blank look and nodded. "Naruto Namikaze." The two kids nodded, confused. They had heard of the other Namikazes but never him. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked before they could speak. Izumi and Satoru looked at each other and shrugged. "We were running away from the orphanage," Satoru said. Naruto raised an eyebrow and looked at Izumi, who nodded to confirm. "Why?" Naruto wondered. This time, Izumi spoke up. "They don't treat us very well because we hurt other kids," she said. Naruto almost laughed but saw she was serious. "And how do you do that?" he asked. Satoru blushed a little, scratching the back of his head. "Well, you see, we kind of have a bloodline that we can't control," he said, embarrassed, with Izumi looking a bit embarrassed as well. Naruto's eyebrow rose. "Bloodlines? What are your bloodlines?" Naruto asked, and their faces brightened. Satoru bent down and touched the grass. It began to glow a light blue, and lightning crackled around it. Izumi then walked to a tree and touched it, and ice began to form around it until it was completely frozen. Naruto's eyes widened in awe. Satoru and Izumi looked a little smug, and Satoru raised his arm, shooting a lightning bolt at Naruto. Izumi and Satoru watched in fear. Naruto stood frozen, his arms raised to brace himself, too scared to open his eyes. A few seconds passed, and he was still standing, his arms up and feeling very confused. He slowly opened his eyes and saw a large pink structure in front of him, protecting him from the attack. Izumi and Satoru ran over to Naruto, apologizing frantically, until they saw what he was looking at. Confused, they stared at it. "What is it?" Izumi asked. Satoru shrugged. Naruto didn't reply, lost in thought. Walking away, Naruto went to a clearing. They both raised an eyebrow as he put his hand out and channeled chakra. A giant pink structure erupted from the ground. "Shotan," Naruto heard in his head. He was confused. Shotan, wasn't that a bloodline from Kiri? He closed his eyes. "Shotan," he said. Izumi and Satoru looked even more confused. "Shotan," they repeated, but Naruto just gave a small smile. Later, Naruto walked home with a small smile on his face. He had made his first friends and discovered his Shotan, or crystal release. Izumi and Satoru had agreed to meet him there every day to hang out. Reaching his home, he grimaced. He could hear the party had already started, and they hadn't even noticed he was there. When he entered the living room, he saw the clan heads and their children, Jiraiya of the Sunin, Tsunade Senju, and a few civilians. They were all gathered around his siblings, wishing them happy birthday and giving them presents. Naruto sighed again and walked to his bedroom. It seemed no one had noticed him, yet again. That is, until Minato called for a toast. Hoping his father had seen him and was going to wish him a happy birthday, Naruto turned and listened. "Hello everyone, I want to thank you for coming to my kid's birthday," he said, receiving applause. "And I'm very happy to announce that I am now naming my son, Menma Namikaze, as the new Namikaze clan head," he yelled, prompting cheers and applause. Naruto stood frozen. He had lost his birthright. The one thing he had was now gone. Enraged, Naruto let out a high amount of ki, getting the attention of some of the partygoers. He stormed to his room and slammed the door. The people who saw him were shocked. Had they forgotten he was there? Where was he today anyway? Some didn't even know who the boy was. Menma, Mito, and Natsumi were too busy being congratulated and receiving more presents to notice. This shocked Minato and Kushina. They hadn't even noticed he wasn't there when they started the party. Of course, they felt bad about taking the clan head position from Naruto, but couldn't he see Menma deserved it more? So, they let it go. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi, on the other hand, stared at Naruto with wide eyes. They had completely forgotten about him. They never sensed his chakra, and he had no presence. In his room, Naruto sobbed softly, punching his wall, tears streaming down his cheeks. "It's not fair. They get everything, and I get nothing. I didn't even get a present this year," he thought sadly. He fell asleep on his bed, tears still in his eyes. Deep within him, the nine-tailed fox sighed deeply. While his container was asleep, he watched Naruto's life. Naruto had been scolded and ignored by everyone except a select few. The Kyuubi had never felt so disgusted with the human race. They could be monsters, but he never thought they'd be this cruel to a young child. He was also amazed that Naruto held no fear when he first visited him in his mindscape. He had simply asked why he attacked the village and made small talk. Naruto was the first person to break down the Kyuubi's wall of hatred and malice and actually get to know him. He had made the Kyuubi feel like he had a purpose. The Kyuubi gave another tired sigh, laid his head on his paws, and closed his eyes to sleep. Hope you like the birthday present I got you, Kit. Years later, Naruto woke with a searing headache. God, Satoru-kun hits hard, he thought, looking at his clock. It was 7 a.m. I slept a little later than usual. He got dressed in a black t-shirt, a red zip-up jacket, black umbu-style pants, and a red crystal necklace. He walked out of his room and saw his parents, quickly ignoring them and trying to leave without being noticed. However, they saw him, and Kushina quickly spoke up. Hey, Naru-chan, want to eat with us? I'm about to make breakfast. She was cut off as Naruto muttered a no and slammed the door shut. Kushina sighed and turned to her husband, who had a grimace on his face. Minato-kun, we've been trying to get Naru-chan back in the family, but she began to cry. Minato hugged her. It's okay, Kushi-chan. We'll get him back, don't you worry, he said mournfully, staring at the door. We'll get you back, Naruto, he added in his thoughts, hopefully. With Naruto. Naruto didn't spare his parents a glance as he left the house, still pissed off about what had happened a few days ago. Flashback. Naruto had walked downstairs and saw his family having a family meeting. Menma scowled at him, while Mito and Natsumi looked at him with happy, excited smiles. Minato and Kushina smiled at him and motioned for him to sit down. Naruto looked at them with emotionless eyes and leaned against the wall. Seeing he wasn't going to sit, Minato broke the silence. Well, I'm happy to say that all three of you are graduating in a few weeks, he said, and his kids beamed with pride while Naruto just looked on blankly. Minato, seeing this was going downhill, turned to his oldest. Naruto, your mother and I thought it would be a good idea to start training you with your siblings, he said joyfully, and the rest of the family smiled, except for Menma, who scowled. Naruto looked down and clenched his fists, his hair shadowing his eyes. After a few moments of silence, he looked up, meeting his family's smiling faces, minus Menma's. They were shocked to see his eyes and expression flash from anger back to his emotionless face. Why, he said, throwing his family for a loop. What do you mean, Naru-chan? Kushina asked, slightly shocked. I asked why you're starting to train me now? You never cared years ago, so why are you caring now? His voice grew darker and angrier with each word. The rest of his family stood in shock. Even Menma was taken aback. Naruto looked at their shocked faces with hate. And worst of all, he thought they couldn't think of an answer. He scowled, turned on his heel, and walked to the door. I am not training with you. I've been doing fine on my own for years. I can do it longer if I have to, he snarled, slamming the door shut and leaving a sad, shocked family behind. Kushina ran to her room and slammed the door, collapsing a few meters in and beginning to cry. Minato dismissed his children and went to comfort her. He walked in, and what he saw broke his heart. His wife was sobbing on the floor, looking broken. He walked over, pulled her into a hug, and she cried into his chest. Minato-kun, why? I know what we did was wrong, but she began, but Minato cut her off. Kushina-chan, all we can do is wait for him to forgive us. What we did was stupid and dumb, but he will forgive us. Well, hopefully, he added in his thoughts. End flashback. He scowled at the memory. After years of neglect, they thought training would fix their relationship? He walked to the academy and saw all the kids who wanted to be ninjas. He looked at them with an emotionless face, but they never saw him anyway, so it didn't matter. He walked into the classroom and took a seat in the back. He was about 45 minutes early, so he put his head down and napped. He was just glad graduation was today so he could stop coming here. He woke up 20 minutes later to a tap on his shoulder. He looked up to see his siblings in all but blood, Satoru Kaza and Izumi Naitashi. They smiled down at him, and he returned the smile. A few minutes later, the class fell silent as the Prince of Konoha and the Princesses of Konoha entered. Girls blushed and giggled at Menma, who now stood at about 5 feet 6 inches with spiky red hair and deep purple eyes. He was dressed in a long black trench coat and a light blue shirt over black umbu pants and sandals. The boys drooled, looking at Natsumi and Mito. Natsumi, about 5 feet 4 inches, wore a blue top showing the start of her stomach and her growing bust, long black shorts, and black ninja sandals with black socks. Mito wore a strapless black battle dress, a sword strapped to her back, shorts underneath her dress, black stockings up to her thighs, and black ninja sandals. They went to their seats, and class finally began with Irika and Mizuki calling roll. After roll call, Irika gave a speech about how proud he was, and so on. They then went outside for the accuracy test. You needed a 6/10 to pass, but most civilians scored 4/10 on the Kunao and Shuriken test. The best civilian was a pink-haired girl named Sakura Harano, who got 5/10. The clan children, having been trained, scored around 6/10 and 7/10. Menma, Natsumi, and Mito all scored 10/10, earning cheers from the class and their fan groups. The last two were Suzuki Uchiha and Naruto Namikaze. Suzuki walked up and also scored 10/10. He strode smugly past the failed students, ignoring the cheers from his fangirls, and looked at Naruto's emotionless face. He smirked. "Beat that, dead last," he said, getting snickers. Satoru and Izumi glared at him, but Naruto shook his head and walked to the starting area. "Okay, you need a 6/10 to pass." "Good luck," Irika said. Naruto nodded, picked up his kunao and shuriken, and threw them all at once. "Well, you got 6/10. That's a passing grade," Irika said, watching him critically. He was holding back a lot. "He seems much stronger than he lets on. I might need to inform the Hokage of this," Irika thought. Naruto walked back, ignoring the slightly disappointed looks from his sisters and the smug look on his brother's face. Naruto sat in the back, exchanging a few hand signs with Izumi and Satoru, who nodded. Mito noticed the silent message exchange but pushed it to the back of her mind for later. After the accuracy test, they went inside for the written exam, which was only an hour long. Naruto scored 61, 1 mark above the passing score. With the written test over, Irika and Mizuki began the final part of the exams, the Jutsu test, which checked their knowledge of the Academy 3, the Henge no Jutsu, Kawarimi no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu. One by one, students went in and out, some with a forehead protector, others without. "Naruto Namikaze," Irika called. Naruto got up to get it over with. As he walked down the rows, he heard whispers. "Hey, isn't he the Hokage's son?" "Tisk, a Hokage's son is a dead last. What a joke. Ha, Dobe will probably fail." Naruto ignored them and walked into the room where Irika sat with new Konoha forehead protectors on his desk. "Okay, Naruto, you know the drill," Irika said. Naruto nodded and performed the Academy 3 without hand seals, shocking Irika. "Well, congrats, Naruto." Irika sighed. "So he was hiding his power, I was right." Naruto grabbed a leaf headband and walked out. He was met with shock from many students, but he ignored them and went outside, where he saw his family waiting for him. "Aniki," Natsumi yelled, tackling him in a hug. She held him tightly, happily talking about how glad she was he passed. After getting out of her hold, he looked at his family and tried to sneak away, but Minato stopped him. "Wait, Naruto. We were going to get some ramen to celebrate. Would you like to come?" he asked hopefully. Kushina, Natsumi, and Mito looked hopeful. Menma just scowled. "If the baka doesn't want to come, don't make him," he said coldly. His sisters frowned, and Kushina turned to glare at Menma. "Menma, that isn't very nice. Apologize to your brother." Kushina's voice trailed off as she saw Naruto was gone. Minato sighed and put his arm around a now sad Kushina. "It's okay, maybe next time," he said. They started walking until Mito spoke up. "Hey, I need to stay after for a bit. I want to ask Irika-sensei something," she said. Satoru's whine. "No fair, Naruto." Satoru whined, causing Naruto to chuckle. With a snap of his fingers, the crystals holding Satoru vanished, and the boy fell right on top of Izumi. Izumi immediately started yelling at Satoru for his perverted antics. As the two bickered, Naruto picked up a faint chakra signature. He grabbed a kunao, threw it into a nearby bush, and heard a yelp and a thud. Rushing to the bush, he confronted the intruder, tossing them to Izumi. Izumi, who had stopped her yelling, caught the person. Naruto's eyes widened slightly in shock. Mito, in turn, looked at Naruto with a mixture of awe and fear. She was caught spying. Hi, Aniki," she said shyly. Naruto just stared for a few moments before his blank expression returned. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice a low growl. Mito started to sweat. "Well, I saw you communicating with your friends earlier, and I was curious," she explained. Naruto simply nodded. "How much did you see just now?" he asked, the edge in his voice sharpening. Mito's face brightened. "That was so cool, Aniki. How did you do all that? Why haven't you told Tio-san and Kaa-san?" Naruto's eyes darkened slightly before he regained his composure. "I didn't tell the Hokage or Kushina because they don't need to know. And from what I see, you don't need to know either." He glared again, making Mito sweat under his gaze. "But, Aniki? You seem strong. I know you've been holding back in the academy since day one. I guess I just wanted to see how strong you are," she confessed. Instead of the sympathy she hoped for, Naruto's eyes darkened further. "Once again, this isn't any of your business," he snarled. Now Mito was truly scared. She'd never seen her brother so cold. He was so different from Menma. Menma was a happy child, albeit smug and arrogant, and was strong, stronger than both her and Natsumi. Naruto, however, was cold and quiet. He only spoke when spoken to and was respectful, the opposite of Menma. How different were her brothers, she wondered. When she tried to think of a single memory of Naruto after he turned 6, she came up empty. That worried her. She looked up, meeting his dark stare. "Leave," he said. "And don't tell anyone what you saw today." Mito nodded fearfully and ran in the opposite direction. As she ran, Satoru walked up to Naruto and put a hand on his shoulder. "Don't you think you were a little mean?" Naruto turned, glaring at him with less malice. "They've ignored me for years, and you expect me to be nice to them." Satoru slumped. "Good point." Izumi sighed, walked over to Naruto, and slapped him over the head. "Idiot, you could have at least tried to be nice." Rubbing the back of his head, Naruto said, "You know I don't care anymore." She sighed again, then turned to leave. "Whatever. I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto-kun, Satoru-kun." After she left, Satoru and Naruto shared a fist bump before leaving as well. Naruto sighed, falling back and looking at the sky. "I don't know why, but I feel like something bad is going to happen," he muttered. He grabbed the red crystal around his neck. "But what I do know is that I will see you again soon, Haim." The Hokage's office. Minato sighed, running a hand through his hair and leaning back in his chair. "Seems like you're troubled," a familiar voice said. Minato turned to see his sensei, Jiraiya, casually leaning on the window. "Jiraiya-sensei? What are you doing here?" Jiraiya climbed through the window. "Minato, I found some vital information." Minato raised an eyebrow but stayed quiet, motioning for him to continue. "The Akatsuki organization is planning to make their move in 3 years," Jiraiya said. Minato tensed, his eyes wide with shock. "Are you sure?" Jiraiya nodded. "I wouldn't tell you if it weren't true." Minato reluctantly nodded and leaned back in his chair. "Minato, you know what this means, right? You have to ramp up the kids' training," Jiraiya said. Minato froze, a look of guilt washing over his face. "Jiraiya-sensei, remember that prophecy you told Kushina and me a few years back?" Jiraiya's brow furrowed. "Yes, the one with a great burden shall become strong enough to take on a god, or weak enough to fall in any battle. I remember it very well." "Why?" Minato looked down, a single tear falling. "I think we were wrong." Jiraiya was shocked. "What do you mean, Minato?" Minato looked down further. "Because of this prophecy, we focused our attention on Menma, Mito, and Natsumi. We decided we would train Naruto after we finished with the other kids." He paused, looking at Jiraiya, who nodded. "Because of this, we pushed him away." Jiraiya, after his 6th birthday, Kushina and I forgot about his total existence, he screamed, slamming his fists on his desk. "It wasn't until a few weeks before graduation that I finally saw his academy papers and it clicked. I had another son. Why did this happen?" Tears streamed down his face. Jiraiya stood in shock. This was partially his fault for telling them the prophecy. He looked at Minato's broken form, sighed, and put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. After Minato calmed down, he sat upright, his eyes red and puffy. Jiraiya was about to speak when there was a knock on the door. Minato sighed. Jiraiya squeezed his shoulder. "Come in," he said hoarsely. The door opened to reveal a person he really didn't want to see right now. "Danzo, Minato," and Jiraiya growled. Danzo walked in with an "I know more than you" smile. "I have some interesting news, Minato," he said. Minato narrowed his eyes. "And pray tell what this news is." Danzo simply smiled, pulled a file from his robe, and threw it on the Hokage's desk. "Just read and find out." Minato opened the file, and Jiraiya peeked over his shoulder. Their eyes widened. "This can't be true," Minato said. Danzo's smirk grew. "Believe it, Minato. It seems your son is hiding a great deal." Mito's fear. Running. That's all Mito could do at this point. She had escaped the woods and was running for her life. She had never felt so much fear. Her brother had a bloodline associated with crystals, something she had to look into, but now, all she could think of was him. The look he gave her, a look that could kill. The look that said he would actually kill her if she told anyone. She ran into her house, ignoring her mother's calls, and went straight to her room. She rushed to her books, looking through the history of shinobi bloodlines. She found what she was looking for. "Shotan," she whispered, unaware that Minato had said the same thing at the same time. Minato's regret. Minato looked up from the file at Danzo, disbelief on his face. That can't be true. Naruto hasn't shown any indication of having the crystal release. Danzo smirked. "You say it like you know a lot about your son, Minato." Minato froze, then grew angry. "You have no right to question those things, Danzo." Danzo's smirk only widened. "Well, I'm just saying what I see, Hokage-sama." Their anger rose, and neither noticed Jiraiya sneak the file into his pouch. "Danzo, I think you should leave," Minato said angrily. Danzo smirked but nodded, walking toward the door. "Might want to have a talk with your son, Minato, before someone tries to take him." He slammed the door shut. Minato sighed, falling back into his chair and putting a hand over his eyes. Well, kid, I'm off. I need to get on with my research, Jiraiya said happily with a perverted smile. Minato nodded, and Jiraiya left through the window. Minato narrowed his eyes at the door where Danzo had left. How did Danzo know about that? His route should be disbanded. I need to look into him more. A pang of sadness ran through his heart. Does Naruto not trust me enough to tell me he has a bloodline? Mito's discovery. After reading about the fabled crystal release, Mito couldn't believe her brother had it. But if she told anyone, he would. She shuddered and pushed the thought away. She was scared, but she needed to get to the bottom of this. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. She put her book away and whispered, "Come in." Menma opened the door. "Kaasen sent me to see if you were all right." Mito gave him a small smile and nodded. "Yes, I'm fine." As she was about to leave, Menma stopped her. "What happened when you were out? Kaasen said you looked pretty freaked out." Mito looked at her brother, thinking about the stark differences between him and Naruto. Naruto was silent and supposedly weak, never bragging or getting into trouble. He was cold and distant. Menma was loud and obnoxious, strong, and the perfect kid. Mito shook her head. "I'm fine, Menma and I. Don't worry." Menma stared for a moment, then nodded, and they left the room. Kushina rushed over and asked what was wrong while Natsumi slept on the couch, drooling slightly. Menma kept eyeing Mito. He knew something important had happened. It had made an impact on her. He clenched his fist, growling as he thought of his weak older brother. He smirked slightly, remembering becoming the clan head and seeing the anger in Naruto's eyes. He needed to become strong. His world would be different, full of strong people, and he would become the strongest shinobi ever. "Fool, still letting your fears cloud you," an ominous voice said. Menma froze. "What?" he said out loud. His mother and sisters looked at him. "What's wrong, Menma-kun?" his mother asked. Menma smiled at her. "Nothing, I'm just tired. I'm going to bed," he said quickly, running to his room. Once inside, he was breathing heavily, a hand on his head. "Who are you?" he whispered. The voice had been more frequent lately, saying the same thing every time. "What do you want from me?" Menma had his own problems to deal with. Team 12. Naruto looked around the academy at the new ninjas. He couldn't understand how some of them had even made it this far. The academy was far too simple. He saw a pink-haired girl and a blonde girl talking happily about who was cuter, Menma or Suzuki. He knew their names, Sakura and Ino, but he didn't care. He gave a small smile as the teams were called. He knew that Kiba, Hinata, and Shino would be a tracking team, and the next generation of the Inoshikacho trio was recreated. He also knew Suzuki would get Kakashi Hatake as a sensei, paired with Sakura and a suspicious boy named Sai. He predicted the three saviors of Konoha would be on a team with their own mother. He smiled again, looking to his left at his new team. Satoru was asleep and drooling on his desk, and Izumi was meditating. He was happy his calculations were correct. Since he had scored just above passing and his friends were in the middle of the class, there was no choice but to put them together. It was a happy medium. He had also guessed the senseis. Korone Ui was given the tracker team, Team 8, Asuma Saratobi was given Team 10, and Kushina Namikaze was given Team 7 with her children. Team 11 was given to Kakashi Hatake, and finally, the new Team 12, consisting of Naruto Namikaze, Izumi Naitashi, and Satoru Kaza, was given Yamato. Naruto had researched Yamato and found out he was an experiment of Orochimaru and held the fabled would release. One by one, each team's sensei walked in. When Kushina walked through the door, the room went silent. She was in full ninja gear, and people were in awe of the Hokage's wife. She smiled and looked at Naruto with a face of longing, but he completely ignored it. She was still upset she couldn't get him on her team. She would definitely be yelling at her husband tonight. She cheerfully greeted her team, then snuck another glance at Naruto before leaving. Finally, a man with short brown hair wearing a standard Konoha and flak jacket strolled in. "Team 12, meet me at Training Ground 19, he said, vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto picked up Satoru by the collar and dragged him out, with Izumi following. When they arrived at Training Ground 19, they saw their sensei sitting on the ground. They sat down across from him and waited for him to speak. After a few moments of silence, he spoke. "Hello, this is the new Team 12. We should probably get to know each other. My name is Yamato. I like training in forests. My hobbies are training with Kakashi-senpai and reading, and my dream is to become an Umbu captain." He looked at Izumi. "Ladies first." Izumi rolled her eyes. "My name is Izumi Naitashi. I like the cold and snow. My hobbies are training with Naruto and Satoru. I hate rapists, child beaters, and hot weather. My dream is to become the strongest kunoichi." Yamato nodded and smiled, then turned to Satoru. "My name is Satoru Kaza. My likes are thunderstorms, seafood, and fast-moving things." I hate what Izumi hates. My hobbies are training with Izumi and Naruto, he finished with a goofy smile, making Yamato sweat drop. He recovered and looked at Naruto. My name is Naruto. I like training with my friends and my little Haim. I hate what they hate, and my hobbies are none of your business, Naruto finished. Yamato frowned a bit at the lack of information but nodded anyway. Okay, so I'm supposed to test you on your skills, he said, pulling 2 silver bells from his pouch. The goal is to take these bells from me before time runs out. If you fail to get one, you will be sent back to the academy. He clipped the bells to his belt and was about to start when he heard something that made his eyes go wide. We quit, Naruto said. Yamato snapped his head toward his students, wide-eyed. What? We're a team. We fight as one, and we will leave no one behind, Naruto said. Satoru continued, we will not fight each other, we are one. Izumi finished, if we all must fail, then it should be as a team instead of abandoning one of us. They finished, and Yamato was shocked. These kids had passed the test instantly and already seemed like a real team. He got over his shock and looked at them with pride. Well, you pass. We will start training and missions tomorrow. Meet back here at 6 a.m. sharp. He vanished in a swirl of leaves. After he left, Satoru yelped in victory. Yes, we're a team. You're so smart, Naruto. Izumi was also smiling. Come on, Naruto, let's get something to eat, she said, grabbing his wrist and dragging him to a dango restaurant. Naruto sighed at his friends' antics, but when he saw their smiling faces, he couldn't help but smile, too. This was his true family, and he would do anything to protect them. A dangerous mission. This fucking sucks, Izumi muttered as they made their way to the Hokage's office, hoping for a better mission. They were sick and tired of D-ranked chore missions. When they entered, they found the Hokage looking frantic. Yamato stepped up. What's the problem, Hokage-sama? Minato looked up at Team 12. He suddenly got an idea, straightened up, and spoke in an official tone. Team 12, I have a B-ranked mission for you. Their eyes widened, and they stood at attention. A few days ago, Team 11, consisting of Suzuki Uchiha, Sakura Harino, and Sai with their sensei Kakashi Hatake, was given a C-ranked escort mission in the Land of Waves. But it seems they have run into trouble. He pulled out a scroll, wrote something down, and handed it to Yamato. They have encountered the Demon Brothers, 2 high C-class missing nin from the mist, and have asked for backup. Do you accept this mission? The team all nodded. Hi, the Hokage smiled. Good. You leave in a few hours. Yamato, there is more information in the scroll for you. Dismissed. But, Naruto, would you please stay for a bit? Izumi and Satoru exchanged a concerned glance with Naruto. He signaled that he would be fine, and they left, albeit reluctantly. After the door closed, Naruto turned to face the concerned and slightly scared face of the Hokage. Is there something you need, Hokage-sama? He asked with no emotion. Minato flinched at his tone. Naruto, I just wanted to say, be careful out there, Minato said, barely above a whisper. Naruto faltered slightly but composed himself. I will, Hokage-sama. He opened the door and was about to leave when Minato spoke again. Naruto, you know you could tell me anything, right? Any secrets, or if you need any help, he asked. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking he knows something. He was silent for a moment before speaking. I don't know, Hokage-sama. Secrets are secrets. I'm sure you have some. Minato deflated a bit but gave a small nod and a smile. Just don't forget, Naruto. No matter what, I am proud to call you my son and I will always dash. He never finished as the door slammed and Naruto left the room. Love you, he finished, letting out a small sigh and returning to his endless paperwork. Outside the office, Naruto was rushing toward the village gates, his eyes glassy. No, I'm just being stupid. He definitely wasn't going to say what I think he was going to say, he thought, refusing to cry. He hadn't cried since he was 6 and wasn't starting now. Naruto made it to the gates and saw his team waiting for him. He quickly made his way over to them, met with concerned gazes and a smile from the ever-happy Yamato. Okay, now we are all here. Next stop, the Land of Waves, Yamato said happily, and they made their way out of the gates. Minato's burden. Minato sighed, thinking of his son. He needed to tell him about his apparent bloodline. He signaled for all the Umbu to leave and then called in Jiraiya. A few moments later, Jiraiya came in. Minato, I was doing research that needed to be do dash. Jiraiya, stop, this is serious, Minato said, stopping him in his tracks. What is it, Minato? Jiraiya asked, turning serious. Minato placed a silencing seal over the room. I have a mission for you, he said. Jiraiya tensed and nodded. I'm giving you an S-rank mission. This mission is of the utmost importance. I need you to spy on Danzo Shimura and report anything you find. Jiraiya looked at him with a questioning expression. Minato, why should I do this? Minato sighed. Danzo is planning something, and I want to know what. I might just be paranoid, but I want you to watch him. Ever since he told me about Naruto, everything has He stopped suddenly as a sharp pain ran through his body, and he fell to the floor. Minato, Jiraiya yelled. Minato held his head in pain, tears starting to fall. The P pain, sorry N. He grunted before passing out. Jiraiya looked down at Minato in shock. What did Naruto have to do with this? Then it clicked. Minato said he hadn't remembered Naruto since his 6th birthday. He needed to talk to the Toads, but now he needed to get Minato to the hospital. Unbeknownst to them both, Kushina was having the same problem elsewhere. A family divided. Her 3 kids hurried Kushina into the hospital. What happened? Natsume yelled frantically, a terrified look on her face. Mito and Menma also looked shocked and scared. I don't know, but that was freaky, Mito said. Menma nodded. It was his fault. Menma's eyes widened as he heard the voice again. Who's? He whispered so his sisters couldn't hear him. Your brother, Naruto, the voice said again. Menma lowered his head so his hair shadowed his eyes. Are you sure? He whispered. This time, his sisters heard him and turned to him. What? Natsume said. He ignored her, listening to the voice. Of course. Who else would it be? He's been causing pain since he was born. The voice growled again, and Menma's eyes turned to steel. He looked up at the concerned faces of his sisters. It was Naruto's fault, he said. The girl's eyes widened. Natsume scowled. Idiot, what does Naruto have to do with any of this? She yelled. Menma turned and glared at her, making her stop. Think about it. Every time he's over, Kaa-san ends up crying. Toyu-san always has to comfort her for something Naruto did. He's been causing problems even when he's not here, he yelled, punching the wall in anger. He's always cold and causes pain. A shadow in the village. A dark figure descended from the ceiling, their footsteps silent as they moved through the long, shadowed hallway. Danzo-sama, Naruto Namikaze has just left the village on a mission. The figure's voice was a hushed whisper. From the darkness, Danzo stepped forward, revealing only his cane and a single, piercing eye. A smirk twisted his lips. Interesting, he murmured, before turning away. For a brief moment, his eye flashed black. Let's see how this unfolds. Team Naruto. Naruto shivered, a strange chill running down his spine. What's wrong with me? I'm not nervous, am I? He wondered, glancing at his teammates. The group had just entered the land of waves and was searching for the home of Tajuna, the bridge builder. They knew this was where Kakashi had requested reinforcements. After a few minutes of asking for directions, they finally arrived. Yamato knocked, and after a short wait, the door swung open. A beautiful, raven-haired woman stood in the doorway. She eyed the ninja with a hint of fear until she noticed their Konoha headbands. Hello, Yamato said reassuringly, my name is Yamato, a jounin from the Hidden Leaf. We were sent by the Hokage to assist Kakashi-senpai's team. Is he here? Yamato asked. The woman, who introduced herself as Tsunami, nodded. She led them inside. As she caught sight of Naruto, a faint blush touched her cheeks, but she smiled at the group. My father, Tajuna, is out working on the bridge right now with the children guarding him, she explained. She motioned for Yamato to follow her upstairs to where Kakashi was resting. Yamato told his students to stay downstairs. Unnoticed, Naruto created a crystal clone that silently followed Yamato up the stairs. Satoru made himself comfortable on the couch and instantly fell asleep. Izumi sighed and sat on the opposite couch, entering a meditative state. Naruto slipped out of the house and onto the roof. From there, he spotted a young child sitting by a lake, looking incredibly sad. Naruto raised an eyebrow, contemplating whether to approach him. Deciding against it, he lay down on the roof and closed his eyes. A few minutes later, his eyes shot open as a rush of memories hit him from his clone. Interesting, he whispered, standing up and heading into the forest toward the city. Yamato's arrival. Yamato stared at Kakashi with a mixture of awe and shock. You survived and beat Zabuza Mamakai? And your genin are all okay? He asked, looking down at the tired, beaten-up Kakashi lying in bed. Kakashi gave a faint nod. Yes. We discovered Zabuza was working for Gato, hired to kill Tajuna. My genin are with Tajuna at the bridge now, he said, his voice weary. Sai got information that Gato is operating somewhere in the town. I wanted to scout for him, but I'm unable to right now. Kakashi looked at Yamato. Would you mind training all the genin while I'm out of commission? He asked. Of course, Kakashi-senpai, Yamato replied, and Kakashi gave his famous eye smile. Outside the door, a few crystals crumbled, unnoticed. The teams reunited. Hours later, Satoru and Izumi were still in the same position when Kakashi's team returned from the bridge, with Tajuna in tow. Upon seeing the other genin, Team 7 was surprised, and in Suzuki's case, annoyed. What are you doing here? Suzuki demanded, staring directly at Izumi. Izumi opened one eye. Recognizing who it was, she sighed and pointed upstairs. Just then, Yamato came down. Oh, good, we're all here. Wait, where's Naruto? He asked. Suzuki and Sakura scowled, while Sai's expression remained impassive. Izumi and Satoru opened their eyes and looked around. "I think he's in the kitchen," Satoru said, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. At that moment, a crystal clone of Naruto walked out, eating an apple. "I'm here," the clone said. Izumi and Satoru smiled, but the other genin glared, except for Sai, who gave his usual fake smile. "Why are you here, loser?" Sasuke snarled. Sakura immediately backed him up. "Yeah, why are you here? We don't need a baka like you around. Sasuke can handle this mission on his own," she shouted, making everyone cringe. The Naruto clone looked at her with emotionless eyes, which unnerved her slightly. "Hokage-sama's orders," he replied coldly, silencing everyone. Yamato broke the tension by bringing up the mission roles. "Okay, since we're all here, we'll discuss our plan," Yamato began. "My name is Yamato. I'm a jounin, and I'll be in charge until Kakashi-senpai is fully recovered. I spoke with him earlier, and I'll be training you all to be ready for any threat. We've put together a schedule for you." He placed a piece of paper on the table. A cough broke the silence, and everyone looked at Tajuna, who seemed embarrassed, angry, and confused. I'd like to know who you people are," he said. Tsunami, who had come out of the kitchen, answered before Yamato could. "They're other ninja Kakashi-san asked for. They're here for extra protection." Tajuna looked over the new jounin and genin, sizing them up. Seemingly satisfied, he turned and walked away. "Well, as long as I get my super protection, I'm fine with whatever," he said. Tsunami sighed, and Yamato smiled. "Okay, kids, look over the schedule and memorize it. We'll start tomorrow at dawn." They all nodded and went their separate ways. The Naruto clone grabbed Izumi and Satoru, whispering something to them that made them look at him in shock. "Are you sure?" Satoru asked. The clone simply nodded and went outside to pretend he was relaxing. Satoru looked at Izumi, worried. "Do you think he'll be alright? I don't like how he has to do everything by himself," he finished, his voice getting quieter and quieter. Izumi sighed and squeezed his shoulder. "He'll be fine. Don't worry, Satoru." They then went back to memorizing the schedule. Naruto's mission. A scream was cut short as a kunai lodged itself in a man's throat. The lifeless body fell to the ground as Naruto continued deeper into the woods. Surprised no one heard him, he mumbled to himself, looking back at the corpse. He was quite loud. Naruto sighed. He didn't enjoy killing, but the man was one of Gato's thugs. This wasn't his first kill, but that was a story for another day. He was just glad he got the information he needed. The thug was easy to break, a few threats and a cut here and there, and he spilled everything. Naruto followed the path to his destination, a large building on the outskirts of town, hidden by the forest. Guards were stationed on every side. He used chakra to climb a tree for a better vantage point, where he saw even more guards. Well, time to storm the castle, or Gato's base, in this case. Training. Satoru and Izumi were barely able to hide their smiles as they watched Sasuke fail at the tree-walking exercise over and over. After Sasuke fell 3 more times, Satoru burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, oh god, you're so bad, Sasuke," he yelled. Sakura jumped up, furious. "Shut up, baka. Sasuke-kun could beat you any time," she shouted, thinking she had won the argument. Instead, Satoru laughed even harder. Izumi finally had enough and hit Satoru on the back of the head. "Shut up and let them practice," she said. Satoru pouted but nodded. Yamato, who had just come down to check on them, sweat dropped. "This isn't going well," he muttered to himself. He looked at the genin and noticed someone was missing. "Where is Naruto?" he asked, fortunately looking at Sasuke and not seeing Izumi and Satoru flinch. "He went into the forest a little while ago," Izumi said. Yamato nodded and walked back inside. "I fixed Kakashi-senpai, so he should be up and ready soon," he said, which earned happy nods from Team 7. Hours passed, and Kakashi was finally able to stand and walk around freely. Team 11, however, was scared because there was still no sign of Naruto. Kakashi asked where he was, and when told he was away, he simply nodded, accepting the answer. Another hour went by, and they were all happily eating dinner, except for Inari, Tsunami-san, who had been glaring at them since they arrived. A knock at the door startled everyone. Tsunami went to answer it. "Naruto," she yelled, surprised to see 2 of him and a girl. The rest of the Konoha ninja rushed to see what was happening. "Naruto, why are there 2 of you? And who is the girl?" Yamato asked. Kakashi's eyes widened. Naruto, he thought, shocked to see his sensei's son here. Naruto ignored them, walking inside and gently laying the now sleeping girl on the couch. He and his clone then turned to face the Konoha shinobi and the Wave family. After a few minutes of silence, Tajuna spoke awkwardly. "Suu, who is she? And where did you find her?" Tsunami went to get a first aid kit. Naruto sighed. "I found her about to be raped by some thugs." His calm tone shocked everyone. Kakashi spoke first. "Well, good job, Naruto. Can you bring the thugs you knocked out so we can interrogate them? They could be part of Gato's army, he said. Yamato nodded in agreement, but they were surprised when Naruto shook his head. I can't bring them to you. An awkward silence fell over the room until Sakura spoke up. Well, why not? She asked grumpily. Naruto turned to her. Because I killed them. Everyone's eyes widened in shock and horror. They were about to ask more questions, but he raised his hand to stop them. That's not important right now, he said. I do, however, need help. Izumi and Satoru's eyes widened, as they knew what was coming. Naruto, are you sure? Izumi asked, causing everyone to look at her and the Jounin to raise their eyebrows. Naruto nodded and gave her a soft smile. Of course, Izumi, he responded. His other clone popped, and the information was relayed. As Yamato-sensei and Kakashi-san can see, I am a clone of Naruto, he said, making the Jounin nod and the Genin stare in surprise. I need you guys to follow me, but I need people here to protect Tajuna-san's family, just in case. Yamato spoke first. Naruto, I don't know what happened, but you can't order us around. You need to tell us the circumstances in order dash. I'm inside Gato's base, Naruto said, his words causing everyone's eyes to widen in shock and fear. Naruto, what were you thinking? Yamato yelled. Naruto was unfazed. Things needed to be done, and no one was doing anything. I needed to change that, he said before walking outside. I want Team 7 to stay here while my team comes with me, he said. Sasuke scowled and moved to grab him by the collar. I want to go. I need to get stronger, so I'm going, he yelled. Before he could grab him, Naruto seized his wrist and slammed him against the wall. Listen, Sasuke. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. That's not what being a ninja is, he said, leaning in to whisper. I bet Itachi never does that. Sasuke's eyes went wide. Naruto let him go and continued out the door. Come on, he said to his team. Crystal versus ice. Crystal style, crystal barrage. Naruto yelled, launching hundreds of pink shards at Haku. She widened her eyes, formed her ice mirrors, and grabbed Zabuza before disappearing. Naruto scowled, searching for the girl. He felt the temperature drop and turned to see icicles shooting up from the ground. He jumped, dodging them all. When he caught sight of Haku, he smiled. Crystal style emerald chain, he yelled, and a giant green crystal flew from his hand at lightning speed, trying to impale Haku. She widened her eyes but managed to escape with her mirrors. She jumped from her spot, avoiding another chain, and went through hand signs. Ice style, ice dragon, she yelled, and a giant ice dragon formed behind her before launching at Naruto. He widened his eyes and formed hand seals. Crystal style, ruby encasement, he said, and a giant red crystal formed around him, shielding him from the dragon. Haku's eyes widened. How is your bloodline so advanced, she said in shock as the ruby crystal finally shattered, freeing Naruto. It seems you're not holding back anymore, he said, looking up with a dark smile. From this point on, no more holding back. I need to see how strong you are. He smirked in satisfaction and performed a complicated series of seals. Sapphire Art Dragon Enlightenment. A new leader. The Naruto clone led his team and Kakashi through the woods to Gato's base. The atmosphere was awkward, with no one speaking. Finally, Yamato broke the silence. How did you find it? He asked. The clone answered without turning around. I overheard a conversation and interrogated a few thugs. They all nodded, and silence returned. Eventually, they arrived at a large building. Here it is, the clone said. The Konoha ninja nodded, and he led them to the back where he had snuck in earlier. Not very well guarded, Izumi noted, and everyone nodded in agreement. When they entered, even the clone was surprised to see an army of thugs and rogue ninja in a state of utter chaos. Fuck, the clone whispered. Yamato nodded, while Izumi and Satoru showed fear. Then, they heard a very familiar voice. The clone's eyes went wide and it popped into crystals, making Yamato jump in surprise. Then, they heard Naruto's voice yell, Sapphire Art Dragon Enlightenment. Suddenly, a giant blue crystallized dragon burst through the wall, taking down thugs as it tore through the room until it smashed Haku against the opposite wall. Haku landed on her feet but looked up in fear as she heard footsteps. Naruto entered through the broken wall. Now, I hope you're not done, he said, cracking his fingers and giving a dark smile. I'm just starting to have fun. He turned and saw his clone's team and his sensei, his eyes widening. He then turned back to the thugs and smirked. Yamato-sensei, I want you, Izumi, and Satoru to take care of these thugs. Is that okay? He asked. Izumi and Satoru nodded, and after a moment of hesitation, Yamato did as well. Naruto realized something and gave another dark smirk. Yamato-sensei, Zabuza is somewhere here. Can you find him? Haku's eyes widened in fear. Yamato nodded and took off. He wasn't sure why he was following Naruto's orders, but it felt right. He quickly made his way out to find Zabuza. Satoru charged lightning chakra into his feet, increasing his speed, and began cutting down thugs. Lightning style thunderwave, he yelled, releasing a burst of electricity that electrocuted everyone in the vicinity. Izumi jumped from behind him. Frost style snowstorm, she yelled, and a snowstorm formed, taking out everyone who had been paralyzed by the lightning. Satoru smiled happily, while Izumi sighed in relief. There's more, Izumi. Be ready, he said. Izumi smirked and nodded. Hi. On the other side of the room, Haku managed to get to her feet and look at Naruto with anger. I'm going to kill you for Zabuza-sama, she yelled, going through hand seals. Secret jutsu, demonic ice mirrors, she yelled, encasing Naruto in a dome of ice. Naruto didn't attack but looked around for an exit until an ice senbon lodged itself into his shoulder. He grunted and turned around, but she wasn't there. He scowled as another senbon embedded itself in his other shoulder. He looked around and finally saw her, in every mirror. No one has ever escaped this jutsu alive, she said, her voice getting darker. She gave a dark smile. And you won't be the first to escape. Tajuna's house. Kakashi watched the woman Naruto had brought in with interest. She had barely spoken while Naruto was present, but now that he was gone, she was sound asleep. His team looked thoroughly annoyed. Kakashi sighed inwardly, he didn't appreciate being bossed around by a genin. Still, Yamato seemed to have enough trust in Naruto's judgment, and that was enough for him. He glanced at Sasuke, who was lost in thought. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. It was unusual to see the young Uchiha in a state other than brooding. Sasuke closed his eyes, replaying Naruto's words. He had always seen Naruto as the weak one, the dead last of the academy with no discernible skill. Yet, when you looked into his eyes, it was like seeing a different person entirely. The bumbling kid was gone, replaced by a veteran shinobi who had seen true bloodshed. Sasuke sighed, his mind in a turmoil he wasn't ready to admit. He needed more time to process everything. A few minutes of silence passed before a soft groan broke the quiet. The woman was waking up. Kakashi, getting up with some difficulty, made his way over to her. As she finally opened her eyes, she was met with his single visible eye staring back. Her most logical response was to scream. Ahaha, she shrieked, startling Kakashi and the rest of the house. Tsunami and Tajuna came rushing in. What happened? Tajuna asked. The girl, seeing that they were also Konoha shinobi, relaxed slightly. Who are you people? She asked cautiously, wanting to avoid the same fate as the thugs at Gato's base. Once the ringing in his ears subsided, Kakashi explained. My name is Kakashi Hatake, a jonin from Konohagakure no Sato. This is my team, Sai, Sakura Harano, and Suzuki Uchiha, he said. Her eyes widened slightly at the names, though no one noticed. You were brought here by one of our genin named N.A. Naruto. Kakashi was taken aback. Yes, Naruto brought you here, he confirmed. An awkward silence hung in the air until Kakashi broke it again. So, what is your name, miss? He asked with his signature eye smile. She stared at him for a moment before answering, Maria. Kakashi's sweat dropped but nodded anyway. Well, Maria-san, can you explain what happened earlier? He asked. She remained silent. Kakashi's sweat dropped again, and despite his eye smile, a hint of frustration showed on his face. I will only answer to Naruto, she finally stated. Kakashi sighed. Fine, he conceded after a moment. He'll be back soon. Sasuke eyed the girl with interest. Was there something special about her? He dismissed the thought seconds later. For some reason, she felt familiar, but he couldn't put his finger on it. With Team 11. Lightning style, electric terrain. Satoru punched the ground, sending a powerful electric shock across the floor that electrocuted everyone nearby. As the thug screamed in pain, Izumi leaped from behind a wall and performed a series of hand seals. Frost-style blizzard, she yelled, exhaling shards of ice and snow that cut down the immobilized thugs. Now that's what I'm talking about. Satoru shouted, surveying the scene. He gave Izumi a thumbs up and a wide smile, which she returned. Suddenly, her eyes widened in alarm. Satoru, behind you, she yelled. But before he could react, he was thrown across the room. A dark chuckle echoed through the hall. Puny children, a dark, feminine voice sneered. Thinking you're all badass for taking down a few thugs. Izumi turned and her eyes widened in fear at the sight of the ninja. It's a shame he has such a strong lightning release, the voice said again. Why are you here? Izumi finally asked. The voice's owner raised an eyebrow, letting out a small chuckle. I was here to serve Gato and get my money, but it seems he's dead, she explained. I've been hiding for too long, it's time to come out. She gave Izumi a small smile. You two are very young, but seem very strong for your age. Izumi gave a hesitant nod, readying herself to fight as Satoru finally got up and joined her. Izumi, what the hell happened? He began, stopping short as he recognized the person in front of him. His shock quickly turned to excitement, and lightning began to surge around his body. A Mayorai Ringo, with Yamato. Yamato raced down corridor after corridor, searching for any sign of Zabuza. A few thugs got in his way, but they were no match for his skill. He finally reached the end of the hall and was about to stop when his danger sense kicked in, and he ducked just as a giant sword flew over his head. The sword impaled the wall, and a tall figure landed on top of it. "You? I can't say that I know who you are," the figure said. Yamato looked up, meeting his target. "Zabuza Mamakai, a rank missing nin from Kiri, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen," Yamato stated. Zabuza smiled from behind his bandages. "It seems you know me, but I don't know you." He cloned down to the ground and grabbed his famed Kubikari Basho. "I guess it doesn't matter, you'll die anyway," Zabuza said, rushing Yamato at high Jonin speed. Yamato dodged the first strikes, finally managing to break away. "With style, pillar emergence," he yelled, making Zabuza's eyes go wide as giant pillars of wood shot toward him at high Chunin speed. Zabuza dodged them all, looking at Yamato with a mix of shock and excitement. "My name is Yamato, Jonin of Kanahagakure no Sato, and I'm the holder of the fabled wood release, with Naruto." Naruto let out a frustrated grunt as another senbon struck his shoulder. He sent a few crystal shards at the mirrors, but they had no effect. The only fire jutsu he knew also did nothing. Performing a few hand seals, he created several clones and sent them out. The clones were instantly struck by senbon and popped. Naruto's eyes widened for a second, but Haku didn't notice. He closed his eyes and channeled his crystal-natured chakra into his feet, letting it slowly seep into the ground. Haku felt a little uneasy at Naruto's stillness and sent a few more senbon. She cried out in surprise, however, as she felt a hand grab her neck. Looking down, she saw that a Naruto clone had its hand wrapped around her throat. She looked back at his original spot and saw him still there. A clone, she thought, glancing around and seeing dozens of clones around each mirror. Her eyes showed shock as the real Naruto opened his eyes. Haku was about to speak, but Naruto cut her off. "Your senbon really fucking hurt," he said, pulling the needles from his skin. "You're probably wondering how I caught you," he said, looking at her. "Yes?" he asked. She tried to nod but couldn't. "Let me go, I'll kill you," she choked out. The clone tightened its grip, making her gasp. "Well, thank you for asking. I started releasing my crystal chakra into the floor until it erupted from the surface, creating clones," he said with a small smirk. "Clever, isn't it?" Haku stared in awe at the genius move. Naruto popped the clones, and Haku fell to the floor. Naruto smiled a dark smile and walked toward her. Haku's awe turned to anger, and she stood up, making hand signs. "Ice Spear's Extreme Frostbite," she yelled, sending 5 ice spears flying at Naruto. Using his speed, he dodged them until one hit the ground in front of him, and ice began spreading across the floor. "Extreme Frostbite, if it touches you, it will freeze your limbs for good," Haku said proudly. Naruto's expression showed satisfaction. "I see." Naruto channeled chakra into his feet and stomped the ground, causing a large pink crystal to emerge, destroying the earth and melting the ice. "Crystal release still seems to be better than ice," he said, looking at Haku with a dark smile. "I want you to show me how good your ice release really is." Haku scowled, deciding on a different approach. She rushed at Naruto, and they engaged in a taijutsu battle. She punched left, right, and at his stomach, but Naruto blocked every strike. She picked up the pace, and Naruto started to struggle. Taijutsu had always been his weakness, and she was fast, really fast. Naruto jumped away, wiping blood from his mouth. "This is a better fight," he said, forming a few hand seals. Ruby Art Dragon Storm. 15 small dragons formed and raced toward Haku at Jonin speeds. Haku managed to dodge 13, but the last 2 hit her directly. She yelped and fell to the ground. Naruto scowled, walked over to Haku, and picked her up by her hair. Haku's face went from pain to fear. "Try harder." He threw her, and she yelped again. She lay on the floor, bloody and beaten, thinking about Zabuza-sama and her life. She needed to help him. Haku slowly got up, chakra swirling around her and ice shards forming. She looked at Naruto, a thin layer of ice armor spreading across her body. Naruto raised an eyebrow but remained silent, getting into a ready stance. Haku looked up, all other emotions gone, replaced by pure anger. "I'll kill you," she said darkly. Ice style, 0 emergence. Haku shot forward, charging at Naruto so fast he barely had time to dodge. She hit him with a punch, sending him flying backward. He looked up, seeing her body encased in what looked like armor. "It seems durable, and her speed has increased tenfold." He saw her face was blank of any emotion. Naruto gave a half smile. She wasn't holding back anymore. He stood up, and she rushed him again. He dodged the first few punches but was sent flying once more. Scowling, he went through hand seals. "Emerald style, dragon speed," he yelled, and a bright green, skinny dragon shot off, chasing Haku. Haku tried to run, but it was futile. The dragon finally hit her. She stood up, her face still emotionless. More ice spread around her body and shot at Naruto at high Jonin speeds. Naruto channeled chakra to his feet and ran toward Haku. He formed a one-handed seal, and a blade of pink crystal formed on his arm. He slashed at Haku, who managed to dodge and sent a spinning kick at him, which he also dodged. They both jumped back. Naruto closed his eyes, recovering a little strength. "You're strong," he said, opening his eyes and looking at Haku. "This is the hardest battle I've ever had." He started walking toward her as chakra began to circle around him. "But I need to win," he said, and a giant light green dragon formed behind him. He looked at Haku again, answering her unspoken question. "During this fight, I've been slowly seeping my chakra into the ground and storing it," he explained. Haku scowled and rushed at him. Naruto gave a dark smile. "Someone's impatient." Emerald Art Dragon Rush. The giant emerald dragon launched at Haku. Caught off guard by its speed, she was smashed into a wall, her ice armor shattering into pieces. She heard footsteps and looked up to see Naruto hovering over her. She tried to stand, but Naruto kicked her, and she fell over. She scowled. "Damn it, I'll kill you," she screamed. Naruto gave an amused smile. "You're going to kill me? And that's why you're on the floor and I'm not?" he questioned. Haku scowled again, using the last of her chakra to form an ice senbon and send it flying at Naruto. He gave another amused smile and intercepted it with one of his own. "Well, I'm proud to say I'm happy with this fight," he began. "You are indeed strong. And with your ice release, you're even stronger." He let out a small chuckle. "I wanted to ask you something." Haku had no choice but to listen. "Why do you work for someone like Zabuza?" Haku was caught off guard but answered, "Zabuza-sama gave me a purpose. He saved my life, and I will happily do anything for him." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like you would do anything for this man." Haku gave a small smile. "Yes, I'm a tool for Zabuza-sama to use at any moment in time." Naruto's eyes narrowed at the word tool. He hated how shinobi used others as tools. "Sounds like bullshit to me," he said, and Haku's eyes widened. "What? If Zabuza means that much to you, you're not a tool. You're just his bitch. And I'd bet he probably cares nothing for you." Haku's eyes flashed dangerously. "How dare you speak badly about Zabuza-sama?" Naruto looked around, lost in thought. "I've always believed you should be generous to those you care about, from the first time you meet them to the last. People you love and care about can change you in ways you don't even understand. And if people you thought loved you didn't, forget about them. I have a story, and I'm sure you have one too. Protect those close to you no matter the cost. And never give anyone a second chance. If they loved you, they would be there, not elsewhere." He finished, and Haku looked on in surprise. She never thought this kid could be like this. She started thinking about what he said. Did Zabuza really care? Was life worth living if you had no purpose? Why stay with someone who doesn't want you? He questioned. He heard a faint sob and looked at Haku, who was crying. "Then what do I do?" she asked. Naruto looked at her with a hint of pity. He sighed and sat down cross-legged. Haku looked up at him. "Tell me your story." "With Satoru." Ringo looked at the boy with a hint of interest. She could feel his chakra and the powerful lightning release. She raised an eyebrow and took out her fabled Kiba blades. "Interesting. I thought that last attack would have taken you out," she said, but he only grinned in response. Satoru looked at Izumi. "Izumi, I want you to go help Yamato-sensei." "This is my fight," he said. Izumi looked at him in shock. "Satoru, I'm not leaving you." He glared at her. "Izumi, I can handle this." Seeing his determined look, she slowly nodded and made her way to find their sensei. "Please stay safe, Satoru, Naruto nii." Satoru turned back to Ringo with a serious expression, closing his eyes and calming his wild chakra. Ringo watched, an eyebrow raised at the display of emotions. "This boy seems to know when he's facing a powerful opponent," she thought, smiling internally but maintaining her emotionless facade. "You seem to have a powerful lightning affinity," she said, fighting back a smirk. Satoru eyed Ringo carefully. "Okay, Satoru, this is Amairi Ringo we're talking about. One of the 7 ninja swordsmen, holder of the Kiba blades, and an amazing lightning affinity." Her affinity was already strong, but boosted by those blades, it's insane. A jolt of adrenaline hit him. "This is Amairi Ringo. 7 ninja swordsmen," he yelled again, a giant smile on his face, and rushed at her. Ringo faltered slightly at his speed but managed to dodge his sudden attack. "Interesting, at least he doesn't waste time," she thought, and this time, a smirk found its way onto her face. Satoru went through hand seals. "Lightning style, static impulse," he yelled. An aura of static electricity formed around his hands, sending small shock waves outward. Never having seen this jutsu before, Ringo decided to observe it. She dodged the first few punches he aimed at her until they suddenly stopped. She looked around, unable to find him. She let out a groan and scanned the area. "I thought he would be better than this," she thought, but her thoughts were cut off as she spotted a lightning bolt flying toward her. Her eyes widened at the unexpected attack. She dodged to the side and felt a spike of chakra behind her. She turned, but was met with a kick to the face. She tumbled backward and skidded against the ground. She groaned. "The kid kicks hard as fuck," she muttered, looking up to see her enemy standing a few feet away with a serious look and lightning forming in his hand. Despite herself, a blush crept up her face as she eyed Satoru. What can she say? She liked strong guys. Of course, she wasn't going all out yet. She stood up and took out her kiba blades. Satoru's eyes showed a mix of fear and awe, but he maintained his tough front. "You did well," she said. Satoru faltered slightly but kept staring at her. Ringo gave a sly smirk and pointed a kiba blade at him. "Maybe we'll see each other another day," she said, a sentence that threw Satoru off guard. "Wait, WH." That was all he could get out before Ringo shone away in a swirl of blue lightning. Satoru stood frozen where she had been. His gaze slowly turned into a glare. Damn it all. With Yamato. Wood style, 4 pillars. 4 large pillars shot out from the ground toward the sword-wielding shinobi. He cut through the wood at an incredible pace. Yamato eyed his enemy. "You really are as strong as they say, Zabuza Mamakai," he said. Zabuza smirked behind his mask. "You're not bad yourself, but you're genin?" he asked. Yamato's face turned deadly serious. "I have complete faith in my students," he stated. Zabuza smirked again, unseen under his mask. Zabuza flew through hand seals. "Water style, water dragon jutsu," he yelled, and a huge water dragon launched itself at Yamato. Before Yamato could react, the giant dragon slowed down, turned a light white, then cracked and broke apart. "I have great timing, don't I, Yamato-sensei?" Yamato and Zabuza both went wide-eyed and turned to see Izumi standing there. Yamato's expression was one of happiness, while Zabuza's was annoyance. Before anything else could happen, lightning struck the ground next to Zabuza, and Ameirai Ringo stood there. Ignoring their surprised looks, she turned to Zabuza. "Zabuza, it's time to leave," she said. Zabuza glared at her, but she forcefully shut his mouth. "We're leaving," she said. Izumi's eyes widened. "Wait," she yelled. Ringo looked at her. "What happened to Satoru?" she asked, fearing the worst. Ringo started to chuckle, and Izumi grew even more scared. "Don't worry about your friend, he's fine." And just like that, she was gone with Zabuza. When Izumi and Yamato heard he was okay, they let out a sigh of relief. Yamato's eyes widened and he looked at Izumi with worry. "Naruto." After the battle. After Zabuza and Ringo's hasty retreat, Yamato and Izumi met up with Satoru. "Izumi, Yamato-sensei, where's Naruto?" he questioned. Yamato answered, "We don't know, we thought you would." They all went quiet. "Why are you all just standing there?" a voice asked. They all turned to see Naruto, alive and well. "Naruto," they all yelled. Naruto thankfully didn't flinch. His team all tackled him in a hug, yes, even Yamato, and bombarded him with questions. "Okay, settle down." Once they quieted down, he explained what happened, and they were all shocked. Yamato spoke first. "Naruto, why did you let her go?" he asked in a stern voice. Naruto looked back with a confident expression. "She had a horrible life, and I helped her see the errors in her ways. I convinced her to leave Zabuza and follow her own path, so she's no longer an enemy to me or to us." His conviction was so strong that Yamato was surprised. After thinking it through, a small smile graced his lips, and he nodded. They searched the rest of the fortress, finding only captured civilians and stolen jutsu scrolls. They rescued the hostages, sealed the scrolls, and made their way back to Tajuna's house. After a while, they arrived, and Naruto walked in without even knocking. Team 7 and the family all snapped their heads to the door, their eyes widening when they saw Team 11. "Yamato, where have you guys been?" "It's been hours," Kakashi began, but Naruto cut him off. "Yes, we were gone for a long time, but we had a good reason," Naruto started. Kakashi glared at him, clearly irritated. "Speak when spoken to, genin, and learn to respect your superiors," Kakashi said with a glare. He was shocked when Naruto didn't flinch or waver, despite the glare and the use of his rank. Naruto reached into his coat, pulled out a small storage scroll, and opened it to reveal Gato's head. The room gasped in shock, and Inari, who was sitting in the kitchen, froze. Tajuna took a shaky step forward and examined the head, as did Kakashi. Kakashi looked up from the head to Yamato, who simply nodded. "It's real, Kakashi-senpai." Hokichi's office. In the Hokichi's office, Minato and Kushina were engaged in a casual conversation when a knock interrupted them. "Enter," Minato called out. The door opened to reveal Yamato, Kakashi, and an unfamiliar young woman. Minato's interest was piqued by the girl, but he gestured for the shinobi to speak. Kakashi Hatake reporting back from a C-rank mission that was upgraded to A rank. "Hokichi-sama," Kakashi announced. Yamato followed, Yamato reporting back from an A-rank mission, assisting Kakashi Hatake and his team. Kushina's eyes widened. "A rank," she exclaimed, causing everyone in the room to wince. Minato calmly interjected, "Kushina-chan, please be quiet." We need to hear the mission debrief. Kushina, now placated, stepped aside. As Kakashi recounted the mission, the couple was stunned to learn his team had encountered the missing nin Zabuza Mamakai. Following Kakashi's report, Yamato took over, providing a detailed account. Kakashi was impressed by the strength of Yamato's team, while Minato and Kushina were shocked to hear the two missing nin had been forced to retreat and that their son had achieved his first kill, becoming the hero of a nation. Minato then addressed the young woman. "And who are you, miss?" he asked. "My name is Maria," she replied, her voice steady. After a moment of silence, Minato pressed, "Okay, Maria-san, is there anything else?" Maria remained quiet for a few more moments before asking, "What has happened to Suzuki-kun since Itaki and I slaughtered the clan?" A heavy silence fell over the room. No one had anticipated her question, especially her reference to Itaki, a Konoha traitor and now an S-rank missing nin, as her brother. "Excuse me?" Minato's voice was serious and on edge, mirroring the tension of the other shinobi present. Maria sighed, closed her eyes, and when she reopened them, everyone gasped. "My name is Maria Uchiha, twin sister of Itaki Uchiha and older sister of Suzuki Uchiha," she declared, her single tomo Sharingan spinning calmly. The silence returned until Minato broke it. "Kakashi, Yamato, you're dismissed. Everything said here will not be repeated to anyone." Reluctantly, they nodded and left. Once they were gone, Minato turned to Maria. "Maria-san, I'm assigning you an apartment. Umbu will escort you, and you are to report back to my office first thing in the morning." Maria nodded, and an Umbu operative led her away. After she left, Minato and Kushina collapsed onto the desk, breathing heavily. "Minato-kun, what's happening?" Kushina asked, a sharp pain creeping from her back to her head. I don't know, Kushina-chan," he replied, as both of their heads throbbed. Memories from their past began to resurface, revealing their true intentions. Overwhelmed, they both passed out, a flood of memories of Naruto's past and pain filling their minds. Maria's new beginning. Maria quickly settled into her new, sparsely furnished apartment. She considered visiting the Uchiha compound to talk to Suzuki, but decided to wait for the right moment. The Hokage's easy dismissal of her, despite her identity, surprised her. She had noticed the Hokage and his wife seemed anxious and pale during their conversation. Shrugging off the thought, she pushed it to the back of her mind. She was also surprised by how cold and dark Suzuki had become. She wondered if Itaki had ever spoken to him. She hadn't seen Itaki since she was 13 and was curious about what had transpired with Suzuki. Of course, she knew about the massacre, Itaki had told her about it before it happened. However, she was already on her way to the Land of Flowers and only received the general idea. She had missed her parents and, upon hearing the news, rushed back to Konoha to find her little brother. A series of unfortunate events led to her capture by one of Gato's thugs in the Land of Waves. Fortunately, she was only used for manual labor. Now, she had a chance to start her life over, build a family with her brother, and bring redemption to her clan. She was determined to evolve her Sharingan beyond its single tomo, a point of frustration for an 18-year-old Uchiha. A sisterly spat. In a dango shop, Mito and Natsumi were sitting together. Natsumi was voraciously eating dango, while Mito was lost in thought. "Nei-chan, what's wrong?" Natsumi asked, concerned. Mito finally looked up. "Why?" Mito asked, and Natsumi looked at her, confused. "What? Why didn't you stick up for Naruto Nii when he was fighting with Menma?" Mito asked. An unreadable emotion flickered in Natsumi's eyes. "Because I believed what Menma Nii did was right. Naruto has been causing a lot of pain and suffering to this family." Mito was surprised by the venom in her sister's words. "How can you say that about Naruto Nii, Natsumi?" she exclaimed, her voice a little too loud, drawing the attention of other patrons. Natsumi glared at her sister. "It's true, Mito. It's Naruto's fault this family is falling apart. And whose fault do you think that is, Natsumi? You think it was all his fault?" Mito shot back. Natsumi jumped up, slamming her hands on the table. "Are you accusing me of making Naruto run away from us?" she screamed, her glare darkening. Mito, although slightly shocked, didn't back down. "Of course not, Natsumi. It's all of our faults for not being there when he needed us." "When the fuck did he need us?" Natsumi cut her off. "Last time I checked, he was the one who never spoke to us, the one who always gave us the cold shoulder, the one who was being a pussy and running away." Mito stood up, matching her sister's glare. "At least I admit to being a bitch that never helped him, but I'm damn sure I'm going to try even harder to get into his life. He's our brother, Natsumi. Stop acting like a spoiled bitch." With that, Mito stormed out of the dango shop. Natsumi, after her initial shock, scowled and left in the opposite direction. Silence filled the dango shop once more. Menma's fury. In his room, Menma punched the wall, a permanent scowl on his face. His parents were at the Hokage's office, and his sisters were out to lunch. "Damn it all," he yelled. Every fucking time. This time, his punch went through the wall. He couldn't get over what had happened less than an hour ago. Flashback. Because you're the biggest loser of all of us. Remember what happened to your clan head spot? That's right, it's gone. It belongs to me. You're weak and will always be. Menma yelled. His sisters looked heartbroken. Menma and I, let him go. Mito pleaded. She looked at Natsumi, who seemed conflicted. Natsumi, say something. Natsumi remained silent. In a flash, Naruto had Menma pinned against the wall, his hand gripping his throat. Menma gasped for air as Naruto held on tight. Listen here, Otato, Naruto said, his voice devoid of emotion, unnerving his siblings. You can hate me all you want, you can think you're stronger than me, but remember this. He leaned in and whispered in Menma's ear, I don't care. Flashback end. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Menma screamed, his fist tearing through the wall again. He looked at a family picture on his dresser from when they were 5. His parents smiled happily behind them, while Natsumi and Mito stood beside them, smiling. Menma's eyes darkened as he looked at himself and Naruto, arms wrapped around each other, both smiling. He scowled, picked up the picture, and threw it against the wall, watching it shatter. Fuck you, Naruto, he yelled, his eyes burning with rage as he destroyed everything in his room related to his brother. How don't you care, you fucking weakling? He collapsed on his bed, breathing heavily. Looking down at his hand, he saw blood leaking from cuts and broken shards of glass embedded in his skin. He watched the blood drip to the floor. Drip, 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 drip. Do you want to kill him? A dark, feminine voice asked. Menma, unfazed, replied, yes. I want to show him who's the strongest, how weak he is. He continued to watch the blood. Drip, 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 drip. Do you see the power anger can give to people like you? The voice continued. Menma nodded slowly. What do you mean, people like me? He whispered. The voice chuckled. All in due time, Menma-kun. Drip, 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 drip. The last drop of blood hit the floor. Menma got up and walked to his mirror. His spiky red hair was now flattened, and his purple eyes had turned a dark amethyst. His brother's words echoed in his mind. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. His eyes darkened even more. He stared at his reflection, which began to change. Staring back at him was his older brother, with bored blue eyes that showed no hint of worry or fear. His reflection spoke, I don't care for you, Menma. You mean nothing to me. Snap. Menma, in a fit of rage, smashed his fist into the mirror, shattering it. He stood there, breathing heavily, ignoring the new blast that pierced his skin. Drip, 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 drip. Do you want to kill him? The voice asked again. Yes. I want to kill him, show him who the strongest is, Menma responded. The dark voice laughed. Very good, Menma-kun. Menma dropped to his knees, his deep purple amethyst eyes now streaked with black. Drip, 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 drip. I'll kill you, Naruto. The aftermath. A week had passed since the confrontation between Naruto and Menma, and the Namikaze family situation had deteriorated. Mito and Natsumi refused to speak to each other, leading to a series of failed D-rank missions. Menma had become even colder to everyone except his family. Minato and Kushina were a different story. Since collapsing in his office, their memories had resurfaced, memories of giving their other children everything while neglecting Naruto. When they woke, they cried, filled with self-loathing. Their pain worsened when Naruto decided to move out. Flashback. Let go of me, Naruto said harshly, his mother clutching him tightly as he held a storage scroll. No, I will not let my baby boy move out, she sobbed, tightening her grip and using her chakra chains to hold him in place. Sachi-kun, you don't have to leave. We already apologized, we can make it better. Kushina pleaded, as she and Minato had found a new resolve to bring him back into the family. I said I don't care. Now let me go, Naruto repeated, ignoring the hurt on Kushina's face. Just let him go, Kaa-san, Natsumi said, walking down the stairs. It's better if he leaves. Her harsh words caused Kushina's eyes to widen, and she lost her concentration, letting her chakra chains fall. Naruto, now free, walked out the door without looking back. He heard his mother calling his name but kept walking. Flashback end. Kushina rushed to the office to tell Minato what had happened. Shocked, he and Kushina spent the day creating a plan to get their son back. Family meeting. Minato and Kushina sat anxiously in the Hokage's office, their children watching them with concern. What do you think is wrong with them? And why did they call us here? Natsumi asked Menma, who shook his head. Mito remained silent. A knock on the door made Minato and Kushina tense up. When the door opened, Menma and Natsumi's eyes darkened, while Mito offered a small smile. Naruto walked in, immediately feeling the glares from two of his siblings. He noticed Mito's smile and gave her a slight nod, which made her face light up. He looked at his parents, who seemed even more on edge. He was still annoyed about his mother holding him back but let it slide. Silence filled the room. Is there something you need, Hokage-sama? Naruto asked. Minato flinched at the formal title. Yes. I called a family meeting today, he said, and all the kids raised an eyebrow. Naruto-kun, Minato began, we want to apologize for what we did to you. Several things happened at once. Menma and Natsume stared at their father in shock and anger. Mito, also shocked, gave a small smile. Naruto faltered slightly, raising an eyebrow in confusion. He felt his siblings' chakra spike in anger but kept his face blank. What for, Hokage-sama? He asked. This time, Kushina spoke. We're sorry for not being good parents to you, she yelled, her calm facade breaking. Oh, bullshit. Natsume yelled. What do you mean, bad parents? It's his fault for not letting us help him. Her parents looked furious. Watch your mouth, Natsume. It is our fault for what we did to our son, Kushina shouted. Mito turned and glared at her sister. I thought you didn't want to help him. Last time you said you couldn't have given two shits about him, she said coldly. Natsume returned the glare. And I still don't give two shits. Kushina and Minato's eyes widened at Natsume's proclamation. Menma chuckled, and it escalated into full-blown laughter. See that, loser? Even your own sister hates you. Menma yelled gleefully. Kushina was on the verge of tears, while Minato tried to maintain a calm expression. Menma, Natsume, we will talk at home, he said. Natsume looked nervous, but Menma continued to smile. Kushina turned to Naruto, who had remained calm and unfazed throughout the argument. She felt a mix of pride and worry, and doubt crept into her mind about their plan. Naruto-kun, we called you here for a reason, Minato said, getting his kids' attention. Your mother and I have decided to give back what's rightfully yours. The kids raised an eyebrow, but Naruto had a good idea of what was coming. Minato took a deep breath. Naruto, as of now, you are the new clan head of the Namikaze clan. The room fell silent before Menma's furious scream shattered the quiet. What? You're giving that loser what should be mine, he screamed at his father. Minato stood up. That spot never belonged to you, Menma. Natsume cut in. Are you kidding me? You're giving it to Naruto. You can't just take away someone's birthright like that. If you got your head out of your ass, you'd realize that spot was Naruto's in the first place. Mito retorted snidely. I wasn't talking to you, bitch, Natsume said. Kushina, now crying, yelled, shut up. How can we fight like this? We're a family, she sobbed, and Minato put an arm around her. The kids looked at their mother, unable to speak. Naruto had remained quiet, surprised by his parents' actions and their decision to return what they had taken. He knew his answer, and while it was obvious to him, it might shock them. Menma, on the other hand, was seething. He deserved that title, he was stronger. How could his parents not see that? He looked at his brother's calm blue eyes, which only enraged him further. He charged forward, kunao in hand, aiming to kill. Naruto sensed his brother's attack and blocked it with his own kunao. The room went silent. And Menma, Kushina whispered, horrified. Minato flashed behind them and pulled them apart. He noted Naruto's calm expression and Menma's rage. Menma, what the hell are you doing? He said through gritted teeth. Menma scowled. Nothing, Tio-yu-san, he growled, storming out of the room. Menma, a voice called out. Menma stopped and turned his head to see Naruto staring at him with a bored expression. I'm not taking the clan head spot. His family's eyes went wide. Why aren't you taking the spot? Minato asked, dumbfounded. I appreciate what you two are doing, but you're too late, Naruto replied. Too late? Kushina asked, her voice filled with fear. Naruto nodded, then turned and walked past Menma and out the door. When a person is left behind, they either try to return to what they were before, or they leave and start a new path for themselves. I decided to leave. He took a final step out the door and turned to show his uncaring eyes. The love I held for all of you died years ago. His footsteps faded into the distance. Silence filled the office, and the reactions were varied. Kushina was now sobbing uncontrollably, and tears fell freely from Minato's eyes. Mito looked broken and hugged her mother. Natsume scowled at her parents' crying faces. That baka is even causing pain when he isn't here, she thought, then felt something wet on her own cheek. She touched it, her eyes widening. I'm crying? Why? Menma was shaking with rage. His parents had tried to betray him, Mito was against him, and Natsume was now crying. He recalled Naruto's words. I don't care. The love I held for all of you died years ago. It's too late. Menma-kun, it seems the family doesn't understand you, the voice returned. Menma nodded slowly. They don't understand me. He walked out the door, and no one stopped him. Naruto's apartment. Naruto unlocked his apartment door and walked in. He didn't feel like training, and apparently, neither did Satoru and Izumi, who were on his couch watching TV and eating his cup ramen. A vein throbbed on his forehead, and he slammed the door shut, startling his friends. Their shock turned to horror as he stalked toward them. Look, Naruto, it's not what it looks like, Satoru stuttered. Naruto didn't respond. He raised his fists and bonked them both on the head. What Naruto said about ramen? What did I say about eating my ramen cups? He asked his friends. They rubbed their heads and replied in unison, do not ever eat the cups of ramen. Naruto nodded, good. He then picked up the now empty ramen cups and sighed, a downcast look on his face. He had been looking forward to that ramen all day. His team noticed his sadness and asked him about it. Sitting on the couch, Naruto sighed and said, well, it started like this. Maria's long wait. Maria was on edge. The Hokage had promised to call her early, but it was now 2 p.m. and she had been waiting since 7 a.m. She was upset and wondered if they had forgotten about her, but then remembered she was an Uchiha and doubted they would. Okay, screw this, she muttered, getting up to leave. She figured if she couldn't see the Hokage, she could at least see her little brother. She walked through the streets of Konoha, trying to find the Uchiha compound. She was too proud to admit it, but she was lost. Just as she was about to give up, she heard a familiar squeal and saw a pink-haired girl. Following the girl's gaze, she spotted Sasuke inside a store, getting groceries. A small smile appeared on her face. She walked past the pink-haired girl and went directly to Sasuke, who was carrying 2 bags. Hello, Sasuke, do you need help with your bags? She asked politely. He grunted and handed her one, intrigued by her. Sakura, who had been watching from a distance, frowned and began to follow the two. A sister's return. Once inside his home, Sasuke noticed the girl looking around with a nostalgic expression. He filed that away for later. They put the groceries away and sat in silence. Sasuke, I came here to talk to you for a reason, she said. He waited for her to speak, but she became nervous and started playing with a strand of her long hair. Sasuke, having dealt with this before, sighed. I'm not interested, he said, getting up to walk away. I don't want to hear another love confession. It's not a love confession, she yelled, standing up abruptly. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Maria looked at him with a sad sigh. Sasuke, what would you say if you found out you had an older sister? Sasuke's eyes darkened. I wouldn't believe you, he said bluntly. Maria closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, her Sharingan with one Tomo was active. Sasuke froze. I'm Maria Uchiha, Itachi Uchiha's twin sister. His mind raced, and he looked at her face, finally understanding why she seemed so familiar. She looked like his mother. This was his real sister. Without a second thought, he hugged her. She hugged him back tightly, and they both began to cry. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, Sasuke-kun, she said, running her hands through his hair. Sasuke leaned into her touch, realizing how much he had missed the feeling of safety and having family. For the first time since the massacre, he forgot his revenge and the emotional facade he had built. He smiled a genuine smile as he held his sister. After a moment, they pulled apart. Maria lifted her sleeve, revealing a small Uchiha symbol. She bit her thumb, wiped the blood on the mark, and a scroll appeared. She handed it to Sasuke. I want to make sure you know the truth about the Uchiha massacre, she said. Danzo's proposition. Menma was training at ground 99 when he collapsed from exhaustion. He heard a noise in the bushes, grabbed a kunao, and threw it. After a moment, a man walked out, holding the kunao. Your accuracy could be better, he said. Menma narrowed his eyes, tensing up for a fight. The man used a cane, had bandages wrapped around his left arm and eye, and an X-shaped scar on his chin. The man walked closer. Don't worry, I'm not a threat. My name is Danzo Shinura, and I am one of the village elders. Menma relaxed slightly but remained on guard. Danzo threw a scroll at Menma's feet. Menma picked it up slowly, read it, and dropped it in a rage. Naruto has a bloodline, he screamed. Danzo nodded. It seems like he does. I have a proposition for you. I could train you, make you stronger. Menma's eyes lit up. A feminine voice in his head said, take the deal, Menma-kun. He looked at Danzo and nodded. I'll train under you. Danzo smirked. I have some rules you must follow. You will address me as Danzo-sama, never question my authority or you will be punished, and show proper respect. Is that clear? Menma straightened up. Yes, Danzo-sama. Good. Now follow me. Menma nodded and followed, the voice in his head saying, very good, Menma-kun. Minato and the Namikaze family. The next day, Minato looked sadly at his 2 youngest kids, Menma and Natsume. Would you two like to explain what happened in my office yesterday? He asked. Natsume and Menma locked eyes before turning back to their father. Sorry, Tio-san, we weren't thinking properly, Natsume said with a fake look of regret. Minato's face softened. He had a soft spot for his daughters. He looked at Menma. And what about you? Menma just shrugged, not saying a word. Minato sighed. Kushina was too tired to scold them, and Mito hadn't been seen all day. He was worried about his children's behavior. Menma, what do you have to say about attacking your brother? You could have seriously injured him. Menma was surprised. He had aimed to kill, but Minato didn't seem to know that. He bowed slightly. I'm sorry, Tio-sama. I'll think before acting and have better control over my emotions. Minato and Natsumi were shocked. Minato simply nodded. Just don't get over your head. It wasn't the right thing to say, but Minato was exhausted. After a few more minutes of scolding, he dismissed them. Natsumi left quickly, but Menma stayed, staring at the floor. Danzo-sama said to show respect, and a little white lie couldn't hurt, he mumbled to himself before leaving to train with Danzo. Naruto's talk with Kuwabai. Naruto was sitting on his couch with his teammates, Izumi and Satoru. What? He asked, annoyed. Something is troubling you, Izumi said. Naruto sighed. Am I that transparent? They both nodded. He then explained everything, his parents trying to give him the clan head spot back, their constant attempts to get him back into the family, Natsumi's hatred, and Menma's attack with the intent to kill. His friends were shocked by the clan head part but understood why he turned it down. They said their goodbyes and left to train. As soon as the door closed, Naruto felt a strong pull and closed his eyes. He opened his eyes to a dark, ominous sewer. He walked through the warm water until he saw a huge gate with the kanji 4 seal in the middle. A loud roar came from behind the bars, and a powerful gust of wind blew through the sewer. Naruto stood unfazed as a giant creature with red, slitted eyes and 9 tails emerged. What is my jailer doing here? The Kuwabai asked. You called me here, Naruto said bluntly. The fox gave a feral grin. I suppose I did. Your brother is an ass. Naruto's sweat dropped. I know that already, Kuwabai. Is there any other reason you called me? The fox's playful demeanor vanished, replaced by a serious expression. Naruto, there is an old prophecy that could either make or break the ninja world. I hate to say it, but I think that time is coming very soon. Naruto's expression became thoughtful. What kind of prophecy is this? The Kuwabai's red, slitted eyes stared into Naruto's blue ones. 2 separate souls in 2 separate beings, one would use his powers to protect while the other uses his to destroy. The power to control shards of glass versus the power to control the devil's flames. Between 2 lost souls, true peace will prevail. Naruto's face was unreadable. You see what I mean, right, Naruto? The fox asked. Naruto nodded, and the only sound was the flowing water and the fox's tail swinging. What do I do? Naruto asked. The fox grinned. Become even stronger than you are now. Do you remember that gold and brown scroll you found in Wave Country? Naruto nodded, remembering it. When we're done here, you need to channel your chakra into that scroll. You have to focus as much crystal chakra as you can, but you must do it in a secluded area, away from all life forms. Naruto nodded and faded away from the mindscape. The fox sighed heavily and laid down, resting his head on his paws. I hope it was the right thing to tell him. Then again, what are the odds of him finding it anyway? I suppose very slim. He chuckled and fell into a deep slumber. Naruto's new weapon. Naruto opened his eyes, squinting in the bright light. He got up, found the gold and brown scroll in his dresser, and put it in his jacket. He locked his door and rushed to the farthest training ground in Konoha, Ground 99, a forest behind the Hokage monument with a large waterfall. He sat down near the lake and examined the scroll. After failing to open it, he did as the Kuwabai instructed and channeled his chakra into it. He felt the scroll absorb his chakra and kept going until he felt a small click and the draining stopped. The center of the scroll flashed pink, and pink lines shot through it until it unraveled, revealing a blank white scroll with the kanji 4 dream in the center. He placed his palm over the kanji and channeled more chakra. A poof of smoke appeared, revealing a 4-foot-long silver staff with crystals at the top, forming a mace-like structure. He picked it up. It was small but had some weight to it. He swung it, and the front of it shone with multiple colors, shooting a sharp pink crystal that flew into the distance and impacted with a thud. Naruto froze, amazed. He noticed the mace was absorbing small amounts of his chakra but figured he had enough to handle it. He swung it again, aiming for the ground. The earth cracked, and light pink crystal shards erupted in a 3-foot radius. He stared in amazement. The power to control shards of glass, he thought, remembering the prophecy. He swung it at a tree, and a sizzling noise was heard as light pink shards encased the base of the trunk. He picked up the scroll, sealed the weapon back inside, and left with a smirk on his face. Kotomi. I'll name this weapon Kotomi. Maria and Suzuki. Maria carried the sleeping Suzuki to his room. She was relieved that he now knew the truth about the Uchiha massacre and had taken it well. She had explained why Itachi had to do it and how the Uchiha elders were corrupt. She told him that if Itachi hadn't acted, the Uchiha would have staged a coup, leading to a civil war that other villages would have exploited to destroy Konoha. Suzuki accepted it, especially after seeing a scroll signed by the Hokage that confirmed her story. Suzuki remembered seeing Itachi cry that night and felt terrible for blaming him for so long. He saw how loyal his brother and sister were to the village and vowed to become strong to protect his family and his home. Maria was proud of him. The truth had changed him completely. After putting him to bed, she went to her old room, lay down, and gave a contents sigh before falling asleep. The aftermath and Chunin exams. A month passed. Naruto had discovered his new weapon, and Maria had become a Konoha citizen, her Uchiha heritage a secret for now. Suzuki's attitude had completely changed, and he was working well with his team. Sakura still had her fangirl moments, and Sai was starting to open up. On the other side of things, the Namikaze family was in trouble. Word of the public argument between the two princesses had spread, and people were questioning if Minato and Kushina were fit to rule. Menma hadn't been seen all month, only coming home and then leaving. Most people thought the family was dysfunctional, but some didn't care as long as they had a strong leader. All Genin teams were nominated for the Chunin exams. When Team 11 arrived at the academy, they ignored the other Genin and saw through the genjutsu on the door, finding the real one. Yamato greeted them and wished them luck. Inside, they were met with killer intent but ignored it, sitting at the back of the room. Soon, more Genin arrived, including the rookies. Naruto saw his siblings and the others talking to Yakushi Kabuto, a white-haired guy with a stack of info cards. Naruto also saw the red-haired girl from a month ago staring at him with emotionless eyes. Their stare-off was interrupted by a loud voice. "Sit down and shut the hell up." Naruto zoned out, knowing the voice belonged to Marino Ibiki, the head of torture and interrogation. Ibiki explained that the test had 10 questions and that anyone caught cheating would be disqualified along with their team. Naruto, deducing that it was a test of information gathering, didn't bother to write everything down. Many teams were caught and kicked out. When time was up, Ibiki explained there was an 11th question and that if you got it wrong, you could never take the exam again. This caused an uproar, but Ibiki calmed them down and gave them a chance to leave. Several teams left, and Naruto scowled at them, thinking they were cowards. Menma suddenly stood up and screamed that he didn't need the exams to become strong. His words inspired many Genin to stay. Ibiki then announced that everyone who stayed had passed. The 11th question was a test of determination and bravery. As Ibiki was speaking, a purple-haired girl flew through the window with a sadistic smile. She told them they had 15 minutes to get to the Forest of Death or they would be disqualified. Naruto and his team used the Shunshin Jutsu, shocking the other Genin. Menma was the only one who noticed Naruto's move. He scowled as he left the academy, a permanent frown on his face. Soon you will fall, Naruto. Naruto's POV of the preliminary rounds. The second part of the exams was shocking and not something to be talked about again. After the Forest of Death, the Hokage announced preliminary rounds. The Konoha Genin who survived were Izumi, Satoru, and myself, along with all of Team 7 and the other rookies. The first match was Izumi against a random Kumo shinobi, and Izumi won easily. The second was Sai against another Kumo ninja named Rosario, and Sai won. The third was Suzuki versus the chakra-sucking Yoroi. Suzuki was acting differently, he was calm and collected, which allowed him to win. Shino versus an Odo ninja named Zuku wasn't interesting, Shino's bugs quickly took him down. Shikamaru went against Kin, another sound ninja, and won with his genius mind. Tenten lost brutally to Temeri of the Sand. Gaara of the Sand almost killed Lee, puncturing his leg and putting him in the hospital. If it weren't for Might Guy, Lee would have died. Ino and Sakura's match ended in a draw. Natsumi and Mito's match was interesting. It started as a verbal fight but became deadly, with Natsumi winning with a well-timed Raiznan that almost sent Mito to the hospital. The council meeting. "You must be reasonable," Hayashi Hyuga yelled, his Byakugan flaring as he addressed the Hokage. "Your son killed my daughter, an heir of my clan, and you plan on doing nothing?" He glared at the other clan heads and the civilian council. Minato closed his eyes before responding. "I sincerely apologize, but my hands are tied, Hayashi. The Chunin exams have always allowed this. It's been permitted since the village's creation." "That's bullshit, Hokage-sama," Hayashi sneered. Inoichi stepped in. "Hayashi. Not that I disagree," he said, looking at the Hokage. "Politically, the Hokage can't act against the Hyuga clan. But," he continued, getting everyone's attention, "given that the Hokage's son appears to be unstable, you dare call my son a flight risk?" Minato shot up from his seat, glaring at the Yamanaka clan head and leaking killer intent. Shikaku intervened. "Hokage-sama, he's not a flight risk, but he did kill a Konoha shinobi. And to make matters worse, she was a clan heir." Minato clenched his fists. Danzo spoke up. "I have an idea, Hokage-sama." "What do you have in mind, Danzo-sama?" a civilian council member asked. Danzo replied, "Minato is unable to act on this matter. But as the village, we can respond." Chauza raised an eyebrow. "How, Danzo? It's obvious that Minato prioritizes his child over the village." Minato glared at the man. "Are you questioning my duties as Hokage and a father?" he demanded. Danzo's expression remained blank. "I would never question you, Hokage-sama. I was just stating facts." Minato looked around the room, seeing disappointment from his friends and a mix of fear and anger from the Umbu and civilian council. He knew he needed to speak with Menma. Furthermore, Danzo continued, the relationship between Minato and his 4 children is strained at best. I'm sure most of you witnessed or heard about the 2 Namikaze princesses' public argument some time ago. 90% of the room nodded. What argument? A voice asked. An argument that revealed Menma and Naruto have a very bad relationship, Danzo explained. Now that I think about it, all your children don't get along well, which suggests you don't have a good relationship with them either. Minato's fists were clenched so tightly they were starting to bleed. What is your point, Danzo? The Hokage asked, his hair shadowing his eyes as killer intent leaked from him. With his eyes closed, Danzo managed a small smirk. My idea is simple. We cannot have a Hokage who won't dedicate his all to the village. I propose we repeal Namikaze Minato as the 4th Hokage. The council fell silent before erupting into a mix of outrage and agreement. Minato stood silently, watching his own shinobi, clan heads, and the civilian council scream to either remove or keep him in his position. The village elders remained silent. Quiet! Minato roared, silencing the room. You will not tell me how to run my village. I am the Hokage. I will handle Hinata Hyuga's death and speak to Menma Namikaze myself without any interruptions. There is no need for jumping to conclusions. His eyes were hard as steel. Hayashi glared at him. And what do you plan on doing for my clan now, Hokage-sama? He sneered. Minato's gaze fell on the Hyuga elder. I will take full blame for what my son has done and give 25% of the Chunin exam funds to your clan. Hayashi looked shocked for a moment but quickly composed himself. Dismissed! Minato yelled, flashing out of the room. The council members flooded out, some angry and some confused, with Danzo's words still echoing in their heads. Danzo remained seated, thinking to himself, fools, before standing up and exiting the room. Minato and Kushina. Minato flashed into his bedroom. He looked around, but his wife wasn't there. He sat on the bed and buried his face in his hands. How did it end up like this? This wasn't supposed to happen. What wasn't? Minato looked up to see his wife, Kushina, staring at him with a strange expression. He tried to smile but couldn't. The Hokage position is just stressful, honey. Kushina gave a curt nod, sat next to him, and fiddled with the hem of her dress. Is it true? About what Menma did? She asked softly. Minato looked down, unable to meet her gaze, and nodded. Yes, Minato, the redhead said, tears welling up in her eyes. We have to take action against what our son did. Minato still didn't look at her. Yes. Kushina stood up, wiped her eyes, and walked toward the door. She looked back at her husband, a few more tears escaping. If you won't do anything about Menma-kun, then I will. Minato never looked up as a single tear fell from his eye. Yes, Mito and Natsumi. Mito walked through the streets, watching the passers-by. Some looked at her with pity, others with fear. The stares made her feel small, but she understood why. After what her crazy brother did, it was hard to be seen near any Namikaze. She looked down at the ground and a few seconds later, bumped into someone. They both fell. I'm so sorry, I wasn't watching. Natsumi? Natsumi looked at her sister in surprise before the expression vanished. Hey, Mito. A silence hung between them until Mito walked past her without a word. Mito. Natsumi's voice was a sneer. Mito stopped and turned her head. What, Natsumi? Another silence fell. What do you think Dad will do about Menma and I? Mito scowled. You think Dad will actually do anything? Menma is his precious child, the new clan heir, and a holder of some of the Kyubai's power. What do you think a Hokage would do? Natsumi glared back. Dad would do anything for the village, and you know it. Just because you think Naruto is right doesn't mean you can disrespect the rest of the family. Mito took a step forward. What does Naruto have to do with this? I'm not disrespecting anyone, I'm just stating what's been happening for years. And do you think Menma was right to kill Hinata? Of course he wasn't, Mito. Natsumi scowled, walking past her and bumping shoulders. Nice job losing the exams, by the way, she smirked. Mito glared, turned away, and walked off. The two sisters went their separate ways, leaving the onlookers in silence. Menma's treachery. Blood spurted out as Menma killed another victim. A kunai flew through the air, embedding itself in someone's throat. A slow clap followed. Good job, Menma-kun. Your skills are getting sharper every day. Menma looked over at Danzo, his face blank. Thank you, Danzo-sama. Danzo walked toward him. Your father might talk to you tomorrow. Remember what I told you to do. Menma nodded, and Danzo smirked. Go to your room. There will be more training in 20 minutes. Yes, Danzo-sama. Menma left the room while Danzo ordered more root agents. Menma's face was blank, but internally he was furious. Stupid old man. He thinks he has me under his control. He entered his room and pulled a box from under his bed. Inside were 4 black rods with red ceiling arrays painted along the base. He smirked maliciously. Your time will end, Namikaze Naruto. In due time, the Chunin exams. Forfeit. The crowd and a dusty blonde went silent as the word echoed through the stadium. What? The blonde screamed as the jutsu binding her was released. The person in question, Shikamaru, put his hand behind his head and sighed. Troublesome. I don't have enough chakra to continue, and it would be pointless to go any further. To think of over 200 possible outcomes and end up leaving anyway. What a waste of energy. He turned and walked away. The proctor, a bead of sweat on his brow, declared, the winner is Temari of the Sand. Shikamaru Nara, you lazy ass. How dare you forfeit, his teammate Ino yelled. Shikamaru sighed again. Troublesome, he muttered as he made his way up the stands. Temari walked out of the arena to the crowd's cheers. In the stands, the Hokage, flanked by his Umbu guards, smiled tiredly. Just like a Nara. A deep chuckle came from the seat next to him. Yes, it's not surprising to see a Nara just give up like that, the Raikage of Kumo said. The Kaze cage of Suna looked over. Please tell me if I'm out of line, but I recall none of Kumo's ninja making it to the finals, Raikage-sama. The Raikage laughed. I know that, Kazekage-sama. I'm here to see how far Konoha and Suna have improved over the years. The Kaze cage nodded but was internally furious. Damn it, I wasn't expecting the Raikage to be here. If only I could get him on our side for the invasion. He laughed to himself. Soon I will destroy the Leaf and the man who took my position as the 4th Hokage. The second match of the Chunin exams will finally begin, the proctor yelled. Will Gaara and Dosu please come to the arena? Gaara appeared in a sand shunshin, waiting. 5 minutes passed, but Dosu didn't show. The proctor raised his hand. Dosu has yet to show up and will be disqualified. Gaara is the winner by disqualification. Gaara returned to his seat angrily, and the crowd booed. The third match of the exams will begin. Will Naruto Namikaze and Menma Namikaze please come down? Naruto and Menma appeared instantly. Naruto used a standard leaf shunshin, while Menma used a special fire technique. The crowd cheered, excited to see the two genin fight, unaware of the growing tension. The match between Naruto Namikaze and Menma Namikaze will now begin, the proctor yelled, leaping away and leaving the brothers alone. Neither moved, staring each other down. Menma grinned and charged at low jonin speeds, throwing a punch. The crowd was surprised, but the jonin and some chunin could keep up. Naruto shifted his head to the right, dodging. He ducked, sensing another attack, and saw a kick aimed at his legs. He planted his hands on the ground, propelled himself up, and delivered a spin kick that sent Menma flying back. Menma hit the wall with a loud bang, leaving the crowd speechless. The display of speed and power was far beyond what genin were supposed to do. The Namikaze family started to sweat, hoping the worst wouldn't happen. Menma got up and laughed. Ha 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 ha, I knew this would be good. Now for the real battle. Feathers began to fall from the sky, and civilians and genin started to fall asleep as a genjutsu fell over the entire arena. An explosion went off near the Hokage stand. Senseis moved to wake their students, while the Umbu went to support their leader. Oto and Suna shinobi appeared throughout the arena, attacking Konoha shinobi. Menma smirked and leaped out of the arena. Naruto scowled and jumped after him, leaving his teammates behind. Naruto chased his brother until he found Menma on top of the Hokage monument, his back to him, overlooking the village. There were explosions and lifeless shinobi below. Beautiful, isn't it? Menma said, turning his head. Naruto looked down at the carnage. Soon all the worthless shinobi will be dead, leaving only the strong and the lucky alive, Menma continued with a giddy smile. He turned to Naruto with a dark smile. Of course, the lucky one's luck will always come to an end. Menma had to dodge a punch from his brother and jumped back, smirking. Kasei Ka, activate. A large purple energy engulfed the forest, shooting into the air and forming a barrier around the monument. Naruto narrowed his eyes. What is this? A barrier, which means no one can get in or out, Menma said, flaring his chakra. I told you, now the real battle begins, he yelled as he charged. The cage's battle. Kazekage-sama, what is the meaning of this? Minato yelled. The Raikage jumped down near the Hokage. The Kaze cage laughed, his face peeling away to reveal Orochimaru. Minato and the Raikage's eyes widened. Kukyaku, Minato, we meet again. A loud explosion went off, and all the cage-level shinobi looked toward the sound to see a giant purple barrier over the monument. Orochimaru's eyes lit up. It seems little Menma and Naruto have met on top of the monument. Minato snapped his head toward the Sunin. What do you mean by that, Orochimaru? Kukyaku, Minato, you'll find out soon enough. Another barrier, this time red, shot from the ground, trapping the two cages and the Sunin. Now we're trapped here, Minato-sama, Raikage-sama. Orochimaru continued, Raikage-sama, join me, and we can destroy the leaf together. You can get all the bloodlines you want and finally be called the strongest of the hidden villages. The Raikage shook his head. I will never join the likes of you, Orochimaru. I will stick by the Hokage and fight. Minato gave the Raikage an appreciative nod, and they both turned to the Sannin. Orochimaru shook his head but kept his grin. What a fool, Raikage-sama. Nonetheless, I will just kill you both. He slammed his hands on the ground. Edo Tensei. 2 coffins, labeled 1 and 2, shot up from the ground. Orochimaru smirked. Kukyaku, say hello to your destroyers. Suddenly, a kunao flew toward the coffins. A yellow and blue blur shot out and poofed out of existence, destroying the coffins as they fell. Orochimaru's eyes widened. He looked up to see a blank-faced Hokage and the Raikage with lightning surging from his body. Don't underestimate us. Another kunao flew toward the Sannin, and in a yellow flash, the Hokage appeared and delivered a slash. Orochimaru bent backward, dodging. A blue blur sped toward him, hitting him in the stomach and sending him flying back. The Sannin maneuvered in the air, flipped, and landed in a crouch. Damn it, this isn't good, he thought as he dodged another kunao. He slithered away from the Raikage's attack. I was hoping the Raikage would join me, and they destroyed my plan without an issue. Wind style, great breakthrough. Orochimaru spat a huge gust of wind toward the 2 cages, who had to dodge. Hokage-sama, any plans? The Raikage yelled as he dodged a fireball. Minato threw a kunao and went through hand seals. Kunao Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. The 1 kunao duplicated and spread across the field. To make sure the snake doesn't get away, he flashed away. Orochimaru scowled and used another great breakthrough to wipe away the kunao. He felt a kunao slice his left arm, and as he turned to punch, he was met with a yellow flash. Another kunao cut his right arm. A palm pushed him back, sending him flying. The Raikage, who was waiting, punched him in the head. He connected but hit a log of wood instead. A kawarimi, the Raikage muttered. Both cages heard laughter and turned to the sound. Kukyaku, I won't be that easy to kill. His mouth opened wide, and a pair of arms emerged. Orochimaru came out, unscathed and looking new. Kukyaku, try killing me. He was cut off as he coughed up blood. He looked down and saw a kunao plunged into his chest. I'm tired of your shit, Orochimaru, the Hokage said. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. How did he know I was vulnerable in the 2 seconds after it was over? He used what chakra he had and performed another kawarimi, replacing himself with a log. Minato glared at the Sannin, who was holding his chest as blood leaked from the wound. No way it ends here. I trained for so long. I deserve this. Orochimaru yelled internally as he was punched in the skull by the Raikage and sent flying again. A yellow flash appeared, kicking the Sannin into the air. No, I can't move. What's happening to me? Minato threw a kunao up at the Sannin and appeared over him, delivering a drop kick. As the Sannin hit the ground, Minato was already there, forming his signature jutsu. Why? Orochimaru yelled in his mind. The blood loss was starting to get to him, and his vision was blurring. Damn it all. Raise Nan. Minato plunged the blue orb into the Sannin's back. The only sounds were a scream and the breaking of flesh and bone. As soon as the jutsu finished, Minato threw a kunao next to the Raikage and appeared beside him. The barrier soon fell. Umbu rushed in and looked at the cages and the Sannin's corpse. Umbu, take his body and show it to the remaining sand and sound ninja. As soon as they see the corpse, they will retreat, Minato ordered. The Umbu nodded and carried the corpse away. Only the 2 cages were left. Minato began to pant and fell to his knees. The Raikage knelt beside him. Hokage-sama? I'm fine, no need to worry, Minato said, standing up on shaky legs. I used a lot of chakra with a faster version of the Hiraishin, and I coated my kunao with a new chakra-laced poison. The Raikage nodded. I see. So the poison was sucking up your chakra from the beginning of the fight? Minato gave a curt nod. Now, shall we go help the village with the rest of the shinobi? The Raikage asked. Minato nodded, and they left. Meanwhile in the village. Die, die, die. Sand pillars exploded from the ground, piercing several leaf shinobi. Sand-style avalanche. A giant wave of sand flew from the ground, covering several shinobi and starting to climb a building. A blue blur raced by. Ice-style mirror wall. A giant wall of ice surrounded the shinobi, stopping the sand. Lighting-style static shock. Lightning was sent at the creator of the sand jutsu, but a wall of sand protected him. The lightning user, Satoru, landed next to the ice wall creator, Izumi. Izumi, Gaara is weak against close range if you can get past his ultimate defense. He relies more on ranged jutsu. Izumi nodded, still crouched. I figured that out, Satoru. Just keep him distracted. On it. Izumi turned to the leaf shinobi behind her. Leave. We will take care of Gaara. Go help the civilians and other shinobi. Yamato, the team leader, spoke up. No, she's right. We need to finish evacuating the civilians. The ninja vanished. Yamato looked at Izumi and nodded. Stay safe, Izumi, and make sure Satoru doesn't do anything dumb. Izumi nodded. Don't worry, Yamato-sensei. We will take care of Gaara. Yamato vanished, leaving the three shinobi alone. She watched her teammate blur past waves of sand. They made eye contact and nodded. Satoru dodged another wave of sand, and Izumi rushed forward. Gaara felt another presence to his left and saw an ice shard coming toward his arm. A wall of sand blocked it as a lightning pulse was sent into the sand, shocking Gaara. Izumi backflipped, flew through hand seals, and sent a torrent of water at him. The sand became soggy and fell to the ground. Wa dash. Lighting style, vision pulse. Satoru flew past, slamming his hand into the ground, electrifying the water and Gaara. Gaara screamed and fell to his knees. The demon within him, Shikaku, started taking over half his face. Izumi yelled, Satoru, now! On it! Satoru jumped back and started flying through hand seals. Thunder style, dragon thunderstorm. 5 lightning dragons appeared behind him and flew at Gaara. His sand, now mud, couldn't protect him. The dragons hit him, and he coughed up blood. Izumi appeared behind him and kicked him down. Suppression seal, she yelled, placing a seal on his stomach, and Gaara fell unconscious. Satoru walked over to his teammate, panting. You never told me where you got that seal, he said tiredly. I've been studying sealing in my spare time. After Naruto told us Gaara was a demon container, I wanted to make a seal in case something like this happened. Satoru nodded and fell onto his back. Ah, man, I'm tired. Izumi smiled and kicked him slightly. Get up. We need to take Gaara to TNI. Satoru got up slowly. Where are you going? Izumi replied without turning around. Waiting for you to pick him up. Satoru sighed, bent down, and picked up the unconscious redhead. Damn, he's heavier than I thought, he muttered, catching up to his teammate. They jumped onto the roofs and headed toward the other shinobi. They handed Gaara's body to a jonin. A sister's sacrifice. Mito's words were a struggle, a final gasp of affection. I just couldn't let you die. As a bone tore from her stomach, she screamed, a sound swallowed by the gushing blood. She fell with a thud, and Natsumi rushed to her side, yelling, Mito, Mito. Mito offered a faint smile. I just moved on impulse, she confessed. Even with all our fights, you're still my sister that I love. The smile made Natsumi's eyes well up with tears. Natsumi was about to speak, but Mito's eyes closed. No, Mito, she screamed, gripping her sister's shoulders. Tears and blood streamed from her own body. Kimimaro watched the scene in confusion. He had been told the two sisters hated each other, yet one had just sacrificed her life for the other. A massive burst of chakra erupted from Natsumi. Her red chakra cloak darkened, and 2 tails now whipped behind her. Natsumi's glare was fierce, and her tail swung menacingly, making Kimimaro uneasy. The sheer killer intent was palpable. I'll kill you, Natsumi shrieked, charging at him. The sudden speed boost surprised Kimimaro, who barely dodged the first punch but was sent flying by a powerful uppercut. A bluish-red orb then struck his back. Raise non. The blast sent Kimimaro crashing into a building. He struggled to his feet, only to be met with another kick to the head, knocking him unconscious. Natsumi landed next to her sister, her chakra cloak fading. She collapsed, face first, exhausted and sobbing. I didn't want this, she whispered before passing out. Naruto versus Menma. Naruto dodged a flurry of punches and kicks. Menma went for a sweep kick, connecting with Naruto's legs and bringing him down. Menma drew a kunao, intending to kill him, but Naruto used a quick kawarimi, replacing himself with a log. Menma looked up to see his brother standing unharmed across the clearing. What do you hope to gain from this, Menma? Naruto asked. Menma glared, pulling out another kunao. To show what true power is capable of. Look around, Naruto, he gestured to the carnage. We are shinobi. We kill, we pillage, and we do anything for our own selfish reasons. And I'll show our family what a weak son of a bitch you truly are. He flared his chakra and began a series of hand signs. Fire style, the devil's comet. He slammed his palms into the ground, inhaled deeply, and exhaled a massive, burning comet at Naruto. Naruto rushed to the right, with the comet hot on his heels. He avoided its initial blast, but another comet appeared behind him. Menma yelled gleefully, I'm not holding back, Aniki, and I hope you won't either. Naruto scowled and punched the ground. Ruby art, dimension wall. A red ruby wall formed, blocking the comet. Seeing it hold, Naruto planted his feet on the wall, crouched, and leaped toward his brother. Surprised, Menma ducked and delivered an elbow to Naruto's gut. The strike connected, but Naruto shattered into crystal shards. Menma sensed a kick from above and jumped back, narrowly avoiding it, but another kick from a clone sent him crashing into a tree. Crystal art daggers. Naruto launched a barrage of crystal daggers at Menma, who blocked them with a kunao. Scowling, he jumped back and performed more hand signs. Fire style, fox fire. For small fire foxes leaped at Naruto. He dodged the first, which hit a tree, but the others were close behind. Crystal Art, House of Cards. Crystal cards formed a barrier around Naruto, blocking the remaining foxes. Frustrated by the new wall, Menma yelled, "Damn it!" Fire Style, Dragon Rush. A large fire dragon rushed at Naruto. Naruto poured more chakra into his wall. He reached for a scroll around his neck, muttering Kai, and his mace weapon appeared. As his wall began to melt, he jumped back and charged Menma. Menma saw his brother coming with the new weapon and ducked. He threw a kunai, which Naruto dodged with a slight head tilt, and backflipped away. The clearing fell silent, the only sound the slow melting of the crystal wall. Menma chuckled, and his laughter grew into a full-blown roar. Naruto watched him, his guard up. Menma wiped an imaginary tear from his eye and smirked. "You know, for a while, I've really wanted to kill you. I wanted to hear you scream as I plunged a kunai into your heart, to see the crimson liquid leave your body." Naruto's eyes never left him. "And what about Hinata?" Naruto asked. Menma laughed again, a sadistic grin on his face. "It's simple, isn't it? She cared for you, Naruto. And your teammate had a little crush on her, didn't he?" Seeing Naruto remain silent, he continued, "I wanted to test you, to see if you had an emotional attachment to her, since she clearly had one for you. Also," he gave Naruto a crazed look, "it's been a while since I last killed anyone." Fire Style, Inferno Flames. The ground cracked as fire erupted, sending shockwaves down the monument. Trees caught fire, and the blaze spread through the forest. Naruto quickly performed hand signs. Crystal Art, Dimension Prism Wall. Giant pink crystals blocked the fire's path as crystal shards began forming under Menma's feet. Menma sprinted away, forming hand signs. Fire Style, Rose of the Dragon. A giant, rose-like structure of fire shot at Naruto, who slammed his mace into the ground. Crystal Art, House of Cards. The familiar jutsu blocked the fire. When it ended, Naruto sent the cards at his opponent. Menma dodged them, but one grazed his cheek, drawing blood. He smiled with glee. Fire Art, Rose of the Underworld. Fire shot from the ground, circling Naruto. He plunged his mace into the earth again. Crystal Art, Encasement. The mace extended, encasing his body and protecting him from the heat. The fire subsided, and the jutsu ended, his mace shattering from the intense heat. Fire Art, Black Fire of the Underworld. Black fire spewed from Menma's mouth and raced toward Naruto. Naruto used a simple kawarimi, replacing himself with a log. Seeing this, Menma ended his attack and delivered a swift sweep kick to the Naruto behind him, which shattered into shards. Emerald Art, Dragon Rush. A giant green dragon formed behind Naruto, rushing at Menma with incredible speed. Menma jumped back and inhaled. Fire Art, Dragon's Encasement. Black fire shot from the ground, meeting the dragon in a massive explosion. Menma was sent flying, and Naruto appeared behind him. Diamond Art, Stardust Chains. Chains flew from Naruto's shirt, wrapping around Menma and pinning him to the ground. Menma smirked as he fell. Red chakra flared around him, and 3 red tails swung behind him. He broke free and delivered a swift kick, sending Naruto flying. "Think you can stop me now, Aniki?" The Naruto on the ground shattered into shards. Menma looked around, searching for his brother. "Come on out, Aniki. Stop being a coward and fight me," Menma yelled. Naruto, clutching his side, was hidden in the trees. When Menma had entered his Kyuubi state, some chakra had hit Naruto, leaving a horizontal gash on his hip. "Come on, Aniki," Menma yelled again. "What will it take for you to give a shit about anything?" he screamed. "All you've done is run. You ran from the family, you ran from your problems, and you're running away now. What will it take for you to stay and fight? The death of a fellow Konoha shinobi did nothing to you. Your so-called father and mother have tried to reach out to you, and what did you do? You fucking ran." Menma punched a tree, and its bark exploded. Naruto listened from behind a tree, closing his eyes and clutching his necklace. "And that's why I want you dead. To show Tio-san and Kaa-san that you're worthless. But even now, they still insist on getting you back in the family. They need to see how far gone you are," he yelled at the sky, sending a fireball into the forest. "You know, Kaa-san actually came up to me a few days ago to talk about Hinata's death," Menma said. Naruto's fists clenched as he listened. "She scolded me, yelled at me, even slapped me, for heaven's sake. She cried in front of me, not caring who saw, because in her son, her baby boy, she saw a killer. She looked at me with a mixture of fear and worry. But deep down, all I saw was a broken woman who doesn't know what to do anymore, a husband who doesn't give her the time of day, 2 daughters who hate each other, and a son who killed a fellow shinobi. But worst of all, a son who despises them. How does it feel, Naruto? To know that because of you, this family fell apart." Menma was sent flying by a punch to the side of his face. He looked up to see his brother standing there, arm extended, his hair shadowing his eyes. "Shut up, Menma," Naruto growled. Menma smirked. "Is that what it takes? For you to hear the truth?" He was cut off by another punch to the gut. Naruto grabbed his head and slammed his knee into his face, then delivered another kick, sending Menma flying again. I said, shut up, Menma, Naruto repeated. Menma just laughed. Menma rocketed toward his brother, and they engaged in a taijutsu match at cage-level speeds. They both landed punches on each other's faces and were sent flying. Naruto recovered first. Diamond Art Stardust chains. More chains flew from his coat, speeding toward Menma. One wrapped around his foot, embedding itself. Naruto ended the jutsu, and the chains fell to the ground. He pulled a seal from his pouch. Suppression seal. Naruto smacked the seal onto Menma's stomach, and the red chakra receded back into Menma. Naruto froze in place, coughing up blood. A kunai plunged inches from his heart. Menma, sprawled on the ground, watched the blood drip from his fingers. I told you I would kill you, he panted, looking at his brother's blood. Naruto, blood dripping from his own mouth, asked weakly, how did you end up like this, Menma? Menma gave a hollow chuckle. We're all different, Naruto. People expect that since I'm the son of a kage, I'd have the same views as my parents. I don't. They expect children to be just like their parents, full of passion for protecting the village. Fools, really. He looked at Naruto, who was breathing heavily. They were on the Yondaime Hokage's head on the monument. Naruto looked up, seeing the Sound and Sand ninja retreating, being captured or killed. He glanced at the damage they had caused. The forest was still on fire, with shards of crystal and flames scattered everywhere. His chains were still there as Naruto closed his eyes. Menma noticed but didn't worry. He knew Naruto was going to die. Menma spoke again. Now Tou-san and Kaa-san will see what I've done. I've stopped their suffering from continuing any longer. No dash. Time to die. Menma's eyes widened as Naruto spoke. Naruto flared his chakra, grabbed Menma's wrists, and pinned him to the ground. Menma saw a familiar chain rise from the ground and fly toward them. He struggled, but the suppression seal made his chakra unstable, so he couldn't focus. Naruto closed his eyes as the chain neared its target. Between two lost souls. The chain plunged into Naruto's flesh, cutting off his oxygen. His locket fell to the ground. The chain didn't stop, piercing through Menma's neck and pinning him to the ground. They both fell, lifeless. True peace will prevail. In Tea Country. A young girl shivered, frozen in place. She grabbed the locket around her neck, holding it tight. What's wrong, Kotomi? Her caretaker looked at her, tears welling in the girl's eyes. I have a very bad feeling. Do you think Tou-san is okay? Kotomi asked. Her caretaker knelt, rubbing her head affectionately. I'm sure he is. Your Tou-san is strong. He wouldn't do anything to make you sad. After all, she stood and smiled, you're his little Heim, aren't you? The aftermath. The wind whipped through the Hidden Leaf village, making a certain Sunin's coat flap as he surveyed the scene. He looked at his former student with pity, though he would never admit it. He walked forward, his feet brushing against the grass. The Sunin stood beside his student, who never looked his way. Minato, how are you? I haven't seen you in, 5 months? Minato nodded without looking at the Sunin. Hi, Jiraiya-sensei. It's been a long time. Jiraiya sighed. He had been told what happened during the Chunin exams and wanted to see how his student was doing. I ran into Natsumai on my way here, Jiraiya said, watching for a reaction. She seems to be taking her career pretty seriously these days. Of course. After what happened, anyone would take their training seriously. Jiraiya sighed again, the conversation already going downhill. I'm sorry. For what, sensei? For telling you about the prophecy. If I hadn't said anything, none of this would have happened. Minato still didn't look at him. It doesn't matter, sensei. What's done is done. Jiraiya sighed once more. I haven't seen Kushina around. Where is she? I'd like to give my condolences. She got a job at the academy. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. I didn't know she got a job. Minato nodded. Hi. After she signed the divorce papers, she moved out. Not long after, she was accepted as a teacher. Jiraiya placed a hand on Minato's shoulder, giving it a small squeeze, and changed the subject. I have some news. It seems the Akatsuki has broken up. You shouldn't be telling me this, Jiraiya-sensei. I stepped down as Hokage 5 months ago. I'm telling you this because I trust you, Minato. It involves your family. Barely. Anyway, Minato. It seems they disbanded during a civil war in their ranks. My informant said the leader was killed, as were most members. All members soon left, leaving the organization dead. It also seems the current Tsuchikage of IWA was assassinated. My informant told me he was killed by one of their own. Apparently, a new cage is to be chosen within the next month. Minato finally showed surprise. Have you informed Hokage-sama about this? Jiraiya felt awkward hearing Minato call someone else Hokage but continued. Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first, since I haven't seen you in a while. Minato nodded, his hand brushing against the stone in front of him. Where did I go wrong, sensei? Minato whispered, and Jiraiya looked at him with pity. Don't beat yourself up, Nina Dash. It was all my fault, Minato snapped, making the Sannin recoil. I never tried to be a father. Look what happened, sensei. I thought I was doing the right thing by following the prophecy, and it turned out we were wrong anyway. Minato yelled, falling to his knees and staring at the stone. I'm broken, sensei. I've been broken since the day I found out about the prophecy. It hasn't been good to me. I left my wife. My own children hate me. I stepped down as Hokage. Silence fell between them. Minato spoke again. Natsume told me what happened to Mito. How Mito jumped in front of a sword to save her. She even told me what she thought of Naruto and Menma. She didn't leave anything out. Minato got back on his feet and faced Jiraiya's pitiful gaze. Do you know how hard it was? Seeing my crying wife come up to me with our dead daughter in her hands. Then, not even 20 minutes later, we find both our sons dead on the floor. I've never seen anyone cry as much as Natsume and Kushina did that day. Seeing that chain go through Naruto's chest and then pierce through Menma's. The floor was stained, Jiraiya. The blood of my two sons stained the Hokage monument as they passed away. The whole area seemed so fake at the time. When we got there, the flames were as strong as ever. The earth was scorched, and shards of crystal were scattered everywhere. It was a battle of cage-level strength that I had no idea they possessed. Minato looked up at the monument, now closed off. I just wish I was able to save them all. Jiraiya remained silent, shocked by the details. He hadn't known how they died. What of the Hyuga clan? Jiraiya asked. Hayashi is training Hanabi to be the new clan head. Something seems to have changed in him. He broke apart the barrier separating the two branches and brought them back together. Jiraiya nodded as an Umbu flashed into the clearing. Greetings, Jiraiya-sama. Fox, our mission is about to start. Minato put on his Fox Umbu mask, turned his back to the Sannin, and said, Take care, Jiraiya-sensei. He vanished. Jiraiya sighed and looked at the stone, which read, Naruto Namikaze, Mito Namikaze, Menma Namikaze, proud shinobi of Konoha no Sato. May they rest in peace for falling so young. Jiraiya sensed a presence beside him and gave a small grin. Hokage-sama, how do you do? The Hokage sighed and waved his hand. Ma, just call me by my name. And why are you here? Jiraiya nodded. Of course, Kakashi. I came to see how my student was faring. Not too well. Kakashi nodded. Hi. Things have gotten progressively worse since the exams. Don't tell Minato-sensei this, Kakashi said, and Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. We found one of Danzo's root bases. We also found Danzo himself dead inside, along with all his members. Jiraiya's eyes widened. How did he die? I can't say for sure. The medics say his heart gave out, but his chakra was burned away, which they think led to heart failure. Jiraiya nodded. And why can't I tell Minato this? It's not that. We searched his root base and found some interesting information. It seems Menma was asked to join root by Danzo himself. He pulled out a classified folder and handed it to the Sannin. Read it. Jiraiya nodded, opening the folder to read. It seems my plan to get Menma Namikaze into my program worked flawlessly. With his obsession to kill his brother, Naruto Namikaze, he joined without a problem. He is improving quickly, faster than I have ever seen a shinobi grow. His power seems to be coming from deep inside, but I cannot be sure yet. Since the final exams are coming up soon, I have informed him of the new sand and sound invasion that will occur. He took it upon himself to create barrier seals to kill his brother, Naruto. He thought I never knew about them, but I know more than he thinks. I will. Why is it cut off? Jiraiya asked. Kakashi shrugged. That's how we found it, Jiraiya-sama. But it seems Menma's hatred led him to want to end Naruto's life. The reason is unknown, but we're trying to figure it out. Jiraiya nodded and handed the folder back. Kakashi informed him that Maria Uchiha, Sasuke's sister, had become the new clan head. Jiraiya, already knowing this, nodded and turned to leave. Kakashi stopped him. Jiraiya-sama, I have a mission for you. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow as he was handed two folders. Since the exams ended, 2 of our shinobi have gone rogue. He opened the folders and raised an eyebrow. Aren't these Naruto's teammates? Kakashi nodded. Hi. They went missing not long after the deaths of Naruto and Menma. I want you to find out their whereabouts. Jiraiya nodded and walked away. Kakashi sighed, wishing he had never taken this job. He pulled out a familiar locket and opened it. Whoever this little girl is, she seems to have a strong connection with Naruto. Kotomi Meuba. I don't know where you are, but maybe you can help this village more than anyone could imagine. He put the locket back in his pouch, turned his back to the stone, and walked away, leaving the cemetery behind as the wind rustled the grass and trees. Kakashi was left to ponder and question. Hard to believe it ended like this. But But why did it end like this?